Hi guys, tonight we drift quietly into the frozen lands of old Russia. The sun is sinking. The air is turning cold. It feels like ice against your cheeks. The wind is coming off the fields like a cold river, finding every gap in your clothes. You can hear the dry grass snapping under your boots. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here, and if you want to let me know where you are listening from and what time it is where you are. I always love seeing those little snapshots of the world. Now dim the lights and let the story begin. You are walking on a path made of snow. The world around you is white and grey. It is the middle of winter and the land is sleeping under a heavy blanket. The snow is not wet or slushy, it is dry and hard. When you step on it, it makes a loud squeaking sound, like walking on dry sugar or starch. This is the sound of deep cold. The air here is very still. It is so cold that the moisture in your breath turns into tiny ice crystals as soon as it leaves your mouth. You can see your breath hanging in the air like a small cloud. You have to breathe gently. If you take a big breath, the cold air stings the back of your throat. It tastes clean and sharp, like cold metal. You are wearing a heavy coat. It is made of sheepskin. The wool is on the inside, pressing against your body to keep the heat in. The leather is on the outside, blocking the wind. It is a heavy coat, and it smells of lanolin and smoke. It is a smell that has been in this coat for many years. It makes you feel safe. Around your waist, you have a simple rope belt tied in a knot. This keeps the coat closed tight, so the warmth stays close to your skin. You look down at your feet. You are not wearing leather shoes or boots with laces. You are wearing valinki. These are very special boots made for this weather. They are made of felt. Felt is wool that has been pressed and rolled until it becomes a thick, solid fabric. There are no seams in these boots. There is no left boot or right boot. They're just two round grey shapes that go up to your knees. They look simple, but they are very clever. The thick wool traps the air. It keeps your toes warm even when the ground is frozen solid. You can wiggle your toes inside them. The wool is soft, but the boot is stiff enough to protect you. As you walk, the felt grips the dry snow. You do not slip. You just march forward, one step at a time. Crunch, crunch, crunch. You stop for a moment to rest. You stand perfectly still. The silence here is huge. There are no cars. There are no machines. There are no birds singing in the trees. The birds are all hiding, puffed up to stay warm. The only sound is the blood rushing in your own ears and the very faint whisper of the wind moving through the tops of the pine trees. The trees are tall and black against the grey sky. They are pine and fir trees. Their branches are heavy with snow. It looks like someone has painted thick white lines on the dark green needles. Sometimes a branch gets too heavy. It drops a pile of snow with a soft whomp sound. Then the forest is quiet again. You look ahead. In the distance, you see a small shape. It is a dark square on the white horizon. As you keep walking, the shape gets bigger. It is a village. You are heading home. The village is small. It is just a row of wooden houses sitting by the edge of a forest. The houses are not tall. They sit low to the ground, almost like they are crouching to stay out of the wind. The snow is piled up high against the walls. In some places, the snow reaches all the way to the bottom of the windows. This is good. The snow acts like a blanket for the house. It stops the wind from getting under the floor. You walk closer. You can see the details of the nearest house now. It is built from round logs. These are whole tree trunks that have been cut and stacked one on top of the other. The wood is old. The sun and the wind have turned it a beautiful silver grey colour. It looks strong. It looks like it has stood here for 100 years. Between the logs, you can see stripes of something fuzzy. This is moss. In the summer, the people went to the forest and gathered soft green moss. They pushed it into the cracks between the logs. Now, the moss is dry and brown. It seals the house tight. Not even a tiny draft of wind can get through those cracks. It is a simple way to build, but it works perfectly. You can see the roof. It is steep, like a triangle. This helps the snow slide off so it does not get too heavy and crush the house. But today there is still a thick layer of snow on top. It hangs over the edge of the roof like white icing on a cake. There is one chimney. It is made of brick. It sticks up from the roof, and a thin line of grey smoke is rising from it. The smoke goes straight up into the sky. It does not bend or drift. It just rises in a perfect pillar. This tells you the air is very stable. Seeing that smoke makes you feel warmer. It means there is a fire inside. It means someone is awake. It means there is hot tea and a place to rest. Your face feels numb, your nose is cold, and your eyelashes feel heavy. The moisture from your eyes is starting to freeze on your lashes, making them stick together when you blink. It's time to get inside. You walk up the small path to the house. The snow on the path has been packed down hard by many feet. You step up onto the porch. The wood of the porch creaks under your weight. It is a dry, groaning sound. The cold makes the wood brittle. There is a door in front of you. It is not a tall door. You will have to duck your head to go through it. The door is made of thick planks of wood. It is covered in a layer of felt and leather, just like your boots. This is to add more padding against the cold. There is a heavy iron handle. It is black and rough. You know that if you touch it with your bare hand, your skin might stick to the cold metal. So you pull your hand inside your long sleeve. You use the wool of your coat to protect your skin. You reach out. You grasp the iron handle through your sleeve. You push down. The latch clicks. It is a heavy, solid sound. You push the door open. A cloud of white steam rushes out to meet you. It is the warm air from inside meeting the freezing air outside. For a second you cannot see anything but this white mist. It smells of burning wood. It smells of baking bread. It smells of baking bread. It smells of warmth. You step over the high wooden threshold. You quickly close the heavy door behind you to keep the heat in. The latch falls back into place with a thud. You're inside. The wind is gone. The biting cold is gone. You are safe. You are standing in the entryway. In Russia, this small room has a special name. It is called the Seni. It is not quite inside, and it is not quite inside, and it is not quite outside. It acts like a buffer. It is a shield that protects the main living room from the bitter cold of the yard. When you opened the front door, some cold air came in with you. But it stopped here. It did not reach the warm heart of the house. This is a very clever way to build. It means the family does not lose their precious heat every time someone enters or leaves. The air in this small room is cool. It is not freezing, but you can still see your breath just a little bit. It is shadowy and quiet here. The walls of the entryway are made of raw wood. They are not polished or smooth. They are rough logs, stacked high. You can smell things stored here. You smell dry birch wood waiting for the fire. You smell dried mushrooms hanging on strings from the ceiling. You smell bunches of herbs, mint and thyme that were picked last summer. They have dried up and turned brown, but they still hold the scent of the warm sun. It is a dry, dusty, pleasant smell. It is time to take off your heavy winter shell. You reach up with your gloved hands and untie your hat. It is a hat with ear flaps that have been tied tightly under your chin. You loosen the strings. You pull the hat off your head. Your hair feels flat and warm where the hat was pressing down. You shake your head, and the cool air of the entryway feels refreshing on your forehead. You hang the hat on a wooden peg on the wall. The peg is smooth and worn shiny by years of use. Next, you untie the rope belt around your waist. The knot is tight, but your fingers know how to work it. The rope falls away. Now you can open the heavy sheepskin coat. You shrug your shoulders, and the heavy weight slides off your back. You feel instantly lighter. It feels as if you have been carrying a heavy stone, and now you have put it down. You hang the coat next to the hat. It sways slightly, then stops. It looks like a sleeping animal hanging there in the shadows. You look down at your boots. The felt phalange are covered in a fine dust of dry snow. You stamp your feet gently on the floorboards. Thud, thud. The snow falls off. It does not melt here because the room is cool. It stays as white powder on the floor. You lean against the wall and pull one boot off, then the other. Underneath, you are wearing thick woolen socks. They are hand-knitted. The wool is grey and scratchy, but it is very warm. You wiggle your toes. They are free now. You step onto the wooden floor in your socks. The wood feels cool, but not cold. Now you are ready to enter the main room. There is one more door in front of you. This door is not as thick as the outer one, but it is still strong. Around the edges of the door frame, someone has nailed strips of thick felt. This seals the gap when the door is closed. It stops any drafts from sneaking in. The people here hate drafts. A draft is an enemy. It steals the heat. So every crack is sealed tight. You reach for the handle. It is made of polished wood, warm to the touch. You push the door open. The heat hits you like a soft, heavy wave. It is not just warm, it is a physical weight. It wraps around you instantly. It feels like stepping into a warm bath. The air is thick. It is much more humid here than outside. Outside, the air was dry and sharp. Here, the air is soft and full of moisture. It feels kind of heavy in your lungs, but in a good way. It relaxes your chest. You step inside and close the door quickly behind you. You make sure it clicks shut. You check the felt edges to be sure they are sealing the gap. You are sealed in. You stand with your back to the door, letting your eyes adjust. The room is dim. The windows are small. In the winter, the sun sets very early, so it is already twilight outside. The windows are double paned to keep the cold out. Between the two sheets of glass, frost has formed patterns. They look like white ferns and feathers painted on the glass. The light coming through them is blue and grey, but inside the room the light is golden. This main room is called the izba. For many families, this one room is the entire house. It is where they cook, where they eat, where they work, and where they sleep. It is not a big room, maybe 5 or 6 meters across, but it feels cozy, not crowded. The walls are made of the same round logs you saw outside. But inside, they have been smoothed down a bit. They are a deep honey color. Over the years, the smoke from the fire and the oil from people's hands have turned the wood dark and rich. The walls seem to glow with their own warmth. You look to the corner of the room, across from the door. This is the most important place in the house. It is called the red corner. In the old Russian language, the word for red also meant beautiful. So this is the beautiful corner. There is a small shelf high up on the wall. On the shelf there are golden pictures. They are icons, religious paintings of saints. They are painted on wood with bright colors and gold leaf. A small oil lamp hangs in front of them. The flame is tiny, just a little speck of light. It flickers gently. The light catches the gold on the pictures and makes them sparkle in the gloom. This corner is the spiritual heart of the home. When a guest enters the house, the first thing they do is look at this corner and bow slightly. It is a sign of respect. It makes the space feel peaceful. It feels like a space that is watched over and protected. You take a deep breath. The smell of the room is wonderful. It smells of pine resin from the log walls. It smells of hot clay. It smells of baking rye bread. It smells of clean straw and dried berries. It is a smell of life. It is the complete opposite of the empty, frozen smell of the blizzard outside. Your body is reacting to the heat. You can feel the blood returning to your cheeks. Your face starts to tingle. It is a pricky sensation, like little pins and needles dancing on your skin. Your nose starts to run a little bit as it thaws out. You wipe it with the back of your hand. Your fingers, which were stiff and clumsy a moment ago, are starting to feel flexible again. You rub your hands together. The friction creates more warmth. You walk slowly to the center of the room. The floorboards are wide and smooth. They are made of pine. They have been scrubbed clean with sand and water thousands of times. They feel solid under your woolen socks. There are no rugs on the floor, just the bare, honest wood. The room is simple. There is a long wooden table. There are long wooden benches fixed to the walls. Everything is made of wood. There is no plastic, no metal, no glass, except for the windows. It is a world of trees that have been shaped by human hands. There is a profound sense of safety here. The walls are thick, almost as wide as your arm is long. You know the wind is howling outside. You can hear it faintly. It sounds like a low moan, a distant animal crying in the forest. But it cannot touch you here. The contrast between the deadly cold just a few meters away and the intense warmth right here makes you feel very lucky. You stand there for a moment, just soaking it in. You close your eyes. You listen to the quiet. Tick. Tock. There is no clock, but you hear the ticking of the cooling wood. The house itself makes small sounds. It breathes. It settles. You open your eyes. You turn your head to the left. There, taking up almost half of the room, is the source of all this life. The reason you are alive. The reason you can sleep without fear. It is time to meet the giant. You turn your head and look at the giant. In Russian, it is called the Pech. In English, we call it a stove. But the word stove is too small. When you think of a stove, you might think of a metal box in a kitchen or a small black wood burner in the corner of a living room. You think of something you can walk around, something you can move if you want to. This is not like that. This is not a piece of furniture. It is part of the house itself. It is absolutely massive. It takes up almost a quarter of the entire room. In some smaller houses, it takes up nearly half. It is a huge block of masonry bricks and clay that sits heavily on its own deep foundation. It rises from the floor and goes up, 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 almost touching the wooden ceiling. It looks like a small white house built inside the big wooden house. The first thing you notice is the color. The walls of the room are dark, honey-colored wood. The floor is dark pine. The ceiling is shadowy, but the stove is brilliant white. It stands out like a bright moon in a dark sky. Every year, the family paints the stove. They use a mixture of chalk and water, or lime and water. It is called whitewash. They paint it carefully, covering every brick, every bump, and every crack. The white layer is thick and chalky. It makes the stove look soft, like a sugar cube or a block of snow. But you know that underneath that soft white paint, it is hard, solid rock. The white color is not just for decoration, it is practical. If a crack opens up in the brickwork, black smoke might leak out. On a dark stove, you would not see the soot, but on this bright white surface, even a tiny smudge of grey soot shows up immediately. It is an early warning system. It tells the family they need to fix a crack before dangerous fumes escape. You walk a little closer to it. The sheer size of it makes you feel small. It is heavy and permanent. It has been here as long as the house has stood, and it will be here long after the people are gone. The shape is not a perfect square. It is full of interesting shapes. It has ledges. It has holes. It has a big arched opening in the front that looks like a mouth. This is where the fire lives. Right now, the mouth is dark, but you can feel the heat radiating from it. Down low, near the floor, there is a hollow space under the main body of the stove. It looks like a little cave. This is a special spot. In the winter, chickens or small animals might be kept there to keep them from freezing. Right now, it is empty, just a dark, warm shadow under the belly of the giant. On the side of the stove, the wall is not straight. It steps in and out. There are little nooks, small shelves built right into the clay. On one of these shelves, you see a pair of mittens drying. On another, there is a small pot of salt. The stove is not just a heater. It is a shelf, a dryer, and a cupboard. It sits in the center of the house's life. The table is pushed near it. The benches are built around it. Everything in the room is arranged to be close to this white mountain. The stove divides the room. Because it is so big, it acts like a wall. The space behind the stove is private. The space in front is for cooking. The space to the side is for eating. Without building any walls, the stove creates different rooms within the one big room. You stand there and respect it. In this climate where the temperature outside can drop to -40 degrees, this object is the only thing that keeps death away. If the stove goes out, the house freezes. If the stove breaks, the family is in trouble. It is more than an appliance. It is the heart that pumps warmth into the veins of the house. It looks peaceful now. It sits there big and silent and white. It reminds you of a large white bear sleeping in the corner of a cave. It is powerful, but it is on your side. It is guarding you against the winter. You want to get closer. You want to understand what it feels like. The heat is pulling you in, inviting you to touch. You take a step closer to the white mountain. The heat is different now. When you were standing by the door, the heat was just in the air. It was a general feeling of warmth. But now, standing right next to the stove, you can feel exactly where it is coming from. The heat is rolling off the white surface in invisible waves. It pushes against your clothes. It pushes against your face. It is a gentle pressure, like a warm wind that never stops blowing. You raise your hand. You want to connect with this object. You want to make sure it is real. You slowly extend your arm. Your palm is open. You move your hand through the warm air until your fingers brush against the white wall. Then you press your whole palm flat against the surface. The first thing you notice is the texture. It is not smooth like the glass in the window. It is not smooth like a polished table. It is rough and bumpy. It feels organic. It feels like the bark of a tree that has been painted over, or like a dry, hard earth path. You run your fingers slowly across the surface. You can feel the ripples in the clay. These ripples are the marks left by the hands that built it. Someone, a long time ago, took wet clay and plastered it over the bricks. They used a wooden trowel or maybe just their bare hands to smooth it out. They were not trying to make it perfect. They were just trying to make it thick and strong. You can feel the sweep of their arm in the dried clay. It connects you to the person who built this stove. You are touching their work. The surface is dry. It is incredibly dry. The heat has pushed every single drop of moisture out of the clay. It feels like touching a stone that has been baking in the hot desert sun all day long. You look at your hand. On your fingertips, there is a fine white dust. This is the whitewash, the chalky paint they use to make the stove bright. It rubs off a little bit. It feels like flour or soft powder. It is clean. It smells faintly of limestone and earth. You rub your thumb against your fingers, feeling the dry powder. It is a simple, humble material. Now you focus on the temperature. This is the magic of the Russian stove. If this were a metal stove like a cast iron potbelly stove, you would burn your hand instantly. Metal gets hot very fast, and it is angry heat. It bites. You cannot touch it. But this stove is made of brick and clay. These materials are heavy and dense. They absorb the fire's heat slowly, and they release it slowly. So when you touch the wall, it does not burn you. It feels deeply, solidly warm. It is a comfortable heat. It feels like a very hot bath water, or like a heavy wool blanket that has been warmed by a fire. You can keep your hand there. In fact, you want to keep your hand there. In fact, you want to keep your hand there. The warmth travels through your skin. It goes into your muscles. It seems to go right into your bones. Your hand was cold from the walk outside. Your fingers were stiff. But now, the heat from the clay is soaking into them. You can feel your joints loosening up. The stiffness is melting away. It feels so good that you lean in. You press your shoulder against the white wall. Then you press your cheek against it. The rough clay scratches your cheek gently, but the warmth is worth it. It surrounds you. It feels like a hug. You think about what is under your hand. Under this layer of white clay, there are hundreds and hundreds of red bricks. They are stacked in a complicated maze. The fire is not just burning in a box. The hot smoke from the fire travels through long, twisting tunnels made of these bricks inside the stove. The smoke goes up, then down, then sideways, then up again. It travels a long journey before it finally goes up the chimney. As the hot smoke travels, it gives all its heat to the bricks. The bricks soak it up like a sponge soaks up water. This is why the stove is so big. It needs all those bricks to hold all that heat. It is like a giant heat battery. Even if the fire went out right now, this massive pile of bricks would stay warm for hours and hours. It would keep the house safe all through the long dark night. You step back a little, but you leave one hand on the warm wall. You look closely at the surface again. You can see tiny cracks in the whitewash. They look like a spider web. These are hairline cracks. They happen because the stove breathes. When it gets hot, the bricks expand. They get a tiny bit bigger. When they cool down, they shrink over and over, day after day, year after year. The stove is moving, shifting, living. The clay skin on the outside is flexible enough to handle this movement. If a big crack appears, the family just mixes up a little bowl of fresh clay and sand and water. They smear it over the crack, let it dry, and paint it white again. It is easy to fix. It is forgiving. There is something very grounding about touching this clay. It came from the ground. The peasants dug the clay from the riverbank or the fields nearby. They mixed it with sand from the river. Sometimes they mixed in straw or chopped hay to make it stronger. Everything in this stove came from the land right outside the door. It is a piece of the earth, brought inside and shaped into a warmer. You close your eyes again, keeping your palm flat against the bumps and ridges. The heat feels steady. It does not flicker like a flame. It is constant. It is solid. It feels like the heartbeat of the house. Thump, thump. Not a fast beat, but a slow, heavy rhythm of heat radiating out, keeping back the frost. You take your hand away. Your palm feels hot and tingly. The rest of your body feels a bit jealous of your hand. You want that warmth everywhere. You want to wrap yourself in it. But first you have to help make that warmth. The giant needs to be fed. You look down at the floor next to the white stove. There is a neat pile of wood stacked against the wall. This wood was not brought in from the cold just now. It has been sitting here inside the house for a day or two. This is important. Wood that is frozen or wet with snow does not burn well. It hisses and smokes. It wastes heat trying to dry itself out. But this wood is dry. It is warm to the touch. It is ready to give up its energy. You bend down and pick up a log. It feels solid and heavy in your hand. Most of the wood here is birch. Birch is a special tree that grows all over the cold lands of Russia. It is easy to spot in the forest because its bark is bright white with black marks, just like the stove itself. You run your thumb over the bark of the log. It feels like paper. In fact, people here use thin sheets of this bark to write on or to start fires. It is smooth and silvery. It peels off in thin, curly strips. The wood smells sweet. It has a faint, sharp scent, like distant vinegar or clean earth. You pick up another log and then another. You cradle them in your arms. The rough ends of the wood press against your wool sleeve. You stand up and turn towards the black mouth of the stove. The opening is about as high as your waist. It is an arched tunnel leading deep into the brick mountain. It looks like a dark cave. The edges of the arch are black with soot from years of fires. This blackness is soft and velvety. It is a sign that the stove works well. You lean forward. You can feel a draft of air moving past you. The stove is breathing. It is pulling air from the room into its mouth. This invisible river of air flows over your shoulders and into the dark tunnel. You place the logs inside. You do not just throw them in a pile. You have to be careful. You reach your arm inside the mouth. It is warm in there, even though the fire is not lit yet. You stack the logs in a specific way. You lay 2 logs parallel to each other, like train tracks. Then you lay 2 more across them. You build a little tower, a little house of wood. This shape lets the air flow through the middle. Fire needs air to breathe, just like you do. If you pack the wood too tight, the fire will choke. If you stack it loosely, the flames can dance and climb. You reach for a small piece of birch bark. It is paper thin. You strike a match. It flares up with a small smell of sulfur. You touch the flame to the curly edge of the bark. Whoosh! The bark catches fire instantly. It burns with a bright, eager yellow flame. It crackles. You place this burning piece of paper bark into the center of your wood tower. For a moment, nothing happens. A little flame licks the bottom of the heavy logs. It looks too small to do the job. It looks fragile. Then a piece of wood catches, a small snap, a pop. A line of orange fire runs along the edge of a log. The fire begins to climb. You step back and watch. This is the best television in the world. The sound changes. At first, it was a quiet crackle. Now, as the fire grows, it becomes a deep, low rumble. The stove is pulling the air harder now. The heat creates a vacuum. It sucks the air in. You can hear the wind rushing into the tunnel. It sounds like a large animal purring deeply in its throat. The flames grow taller. They are not just yellow. They are orange and deep red. Near the bottom, where the heat is most intense, they are blue. The fire fills the dark cave of the stove. It lights up the back of the tunnel. You can see the bricks inside now. They are black and grey, scarred by thousands of fires before this one. The light spills out into the room. It dances on the floorboards. It makes shadows jump on the walls. The white face of the stove flickers with orange light. It looks alive. The room suddenly feels much cozier. The fire is a friendly presence. You pick up a tool leaning against the stove. It is a long iron rod with a hook on the end. It is called a poker. The metal is cool and heavy in your hand. The handle is polished smooth by many hands. You use the poker to push a stray log back into the fire. You have to push it deep. The fire in a Russian stove does not burn right at the front like a fireplace. It burns deep inside in the belly of the stove. This is the secret. If the fire were at the front, the heat would just escape into the room and disappear. But by burning it deep inside, the heat is trapped. It has to travel through the maze of bricks. You watch the wood turn black. You see the surface bubble as the sap inside boils and turns to steam. Then the wood glows red and starts to crumble. The smell changes now. It is no longer just the sweet smell of raw wood. It is the smell of wood smoke. It is a rich, spicy smell. It smells like autumn leaves burning. It smells like history. But the smoke does not come into the room. The draft is so strong that every wisp of grey smoke is pulled up and away into the chimney, leaving the room air clean. You stand there for a long time, just staring. It is hypnotic. The flames twist and turn. They never make the same shape twice. Your eyes relax. Your mind quiets down. You stop thinking about the cold outside. You stop thinking about tomorrow. You are just here, watching the dance of heat and light. You can feel the heat on your face. It is strong now. It dries your skin. If you stand too close, it feels like sunburn. You have to step back a little, but your back is still cool, facing the rest of the room. This reminds you that the house is not fully warm yet. The stove is eating the wood, but it hasn't shared the heat yet. It is charging up. This is a specific type of fire. It is not a slow, lazy fire that burns all day. It is a hot, fast fire. You want to burn the wood quickly and intensely. You want to create a massive burst of heat to soak into the bricks. You throw on another log. You watch the sparks fly up. They look like tiny fireflies rushing up a chimney into the night sky. The noise is steady. Roar, crackle, pop. It is a conversation between the wood and the air. You realize something. You are not just heating the air in the room. Air holds heat very poorly. If you open the door, the warm air rushes out and is gone in a second. No, you are doing something more permanent. You are heating the mass. You are heating the tons of brick and clay. Once they are hot, they will hold that heat. They are heavy and stubborn. They will not let the cold win. You watch the fire start to settle. The tall flames are getting lower. The wood is breaking down into a glowing pile of coals. They are bright red, pulsing with light. They look like molten gold. This is the heart of the fire. This is where the real heat lives. The roar quiets down to a whisper. The frantic dancing of the flames stops. Now there is just a steady, intense radiation of heat. The inside of the stove looks like a sunset trapped in a box. You lean the poker back against the wall. Clink. The sound rings clearly in the quiet room. The show is almost over. The wood has done its job. It has given its life to make the coals. Now comes the most important part of the night. The part that requires timing and care. You cannot leave the fire like this. You have to trap the heat before it flies away up the chimney. You wait, watching the last blue flame flicker and die on top of the red coals. The giant is full. Now you must close the gate. You stand before the mouth of the stove. The fire has changed. A few minutes ago, it was a wild, noisy beast. It was roaring and eating the wood. Now, it is quiet. The tall yellow flames are gone. The logs have crumbled away. All that is left is a pile of glowing red coals. They sit in a heap at the back of the stove tunnel. They pulsate with a deep, intense light. They look like a pile of jewels, rubies, and garnets trembling in the dark. Every now and then, a tiny spark jumps off the pile, floats in the air for a second, and then vanishes. You lean in closer. You are looking for something very specific. You are looking for the color blue. This is the most important rule of the stove. You must watch the coals. If you see small tongues of blue flame dancing on top of the red coals, you must wait. These blue flames mean the wood is not finished. It is still releasing gas. If you trap this gas inside the house, it is dangerous. It can give you a terrible headache. It can make you sick. In the old days, they called it the silent enemy. So you wait. You are patient. You watch the blue flickers get smaller and smaller. Finally, the last blue tongue disappears. Now, the coals are just pure, clean heat. They are covered in a very thin layer of white ash, like a dusting of snow on a red roof. It is time. You reach up. High on the chimney, above the main body of the stove, there is a small metal handle sticking out of the brickwork. It is made of cast iron. It is black and dusty with soot. This handle controls the damper. It is a simple thing. It is just a heavy metal plate that slides back and forth inside the chimney. Think of it like a gate. When the gate is open, the smoke can go up and out to the sky. When the gate is closed, the chimney is blocked. Right now, the gate is open. The chimney is acting like a giant straw. It is sucking air out of the room, pulling it through the hot bricks, and sending it outside. If you leave it open, all that precious heat you just made will fly away. The cold wind from outside will whistle down the chimney and cool the bricks. Your hard work will be wasted. You have to catch the heat. You have to trap it. You grab the cold iron handle. You pull it towards you. Grind. You hear the heavy sound of metal sliding against brick. It is a rough, gritty sound. The iron plate slides across the opening of the chimney. It cuts off the path to the sky. Clunk. The metal hits the stop. The gate is closed. The effect is instant. The sound in the room changes immediately. Before, there was a faint rushing sound. It was the sound of the draft, the air being pulled into the stove mouth. It was a constant, low whistle. Now, that sound is cut off. The vacuum is broken. The room goes completely silent. The air becomes still. You look back at the mouth of the stove. A moment ago, the air was rushing into the tunnel. Now the heat begins to drift out. The heat has nowhere else to go. The chimney is blocked. The heat cannot go up. It cannot go down. So it pushes back. It pushes out into the room. It pushes into the white clay walls. This is the secret of the Russian winter. You do not keep a fire burning all night long. That would take too much wood. You would have to wake up every hour to feed it. Instead, you do a burn. You make one big hot fire. You create a massive amount of heat quickly. Then you close the damper. You seal the heat inside the bricks. You have turned the stove into a thermos. You step back from the stove. You wipe your hands on your trousers. You feel a sense of satisfaction. You have done the job. The house is now charged. You can feel the difference in the air already. The heat feels thicker. It feels softer. When the damper was open, the air was moving, flowing towards the fire. It felt restless. Now the air is stagnant and heavy. It wraps around you like a thick quilt. You check the damper one more time. You give the handle a little wiggle. It is tight. No heat will escape tonight. The pile of coals inside will glow for hours. Because there is very little air getting to them now, they will not burn away quickly. They will just sit there, radiating heat, slowly turning into grey ash. They are like a gentle heart, pumping warmth into the stones. You look at the white walls of the stove again. They were already warm to the touch, but now they will get hotter and hotter. For the next few hours, the heat from the trapped coals will soak through the dense brick. It will travel slowly to the surface. In an hour, the surface will be too hot to touch with your bare hand for more than a second. It will radiate heat across the room, warming the benches, the table, and the floor. It will fight the frost on the windows. You take a deep breath. The air smells slightly different now. It smells of hot dust and hot brick. It is a very clean, dry smell. It is the smell of a secure home. Outside, the wind is picking up. You can hear a fresh gust slam against the wooden wall of the house. Whomp. The timbers of the house creak. The world out there is wild and frozen. It is a place where nothing can survive without help. That inside, you have created a summer climate. You have built a fortress of warmth. You walk away from the stove mouth. You can leave it now. It does not need you anymore. It will do its work silently while you rest. The heavy iron plate is standing guard in the chimney, holding the winter back. You move towards the bench near the wall. The excitement of the fire is over. The roar and the flames are gone. Now comes the quiet part of the evening. The slow, steady comfort of the stored heat. You sit down on the smooth wood of the bench. You lean back against the log wall. You can feel the warmth of the stove reaching you even here, 3 meters away. It feels like the sun is shining on your face. This is the moment the peasant family would relax. The work is done. The animals are fed. The fire is banked. The damper is closed. The danger of the day is over. You look around the room. The shadows are long and soft. A light from the icon lamp in the corner seems brighter now that the fire has died down. The room feels smaller, more intimate. It feels like the house has wrapped its arms around you. But the stove is not just for heating the air. It has another purpose. A purpose that seems strange to modern people, but was the most natural thing in the world for centuries. You look at the top of the stove. It is a large, flat platform, high up near the ceiling. It is wide and spacious. It is time to see where you will sleep. You stay seated on the bench, watching the white giant. It looks exactly the same as it did 10 minutes ago. It is just a big, quiet block of white clay, which you know that something invisible is happening inside. Think about what makes this stove so special. It is all about weight. If you could take apart this stove brick by brick, you would find a huge pile of material. There are thousands of red clay bricks inside. There are buckets of sand. There are layers of clay mud. If you put all of that on a scale, it would weigh as much as a large elephant. It is incredibly heavy. This weight is the secret. In the world of heat, heavy things are slow. They are slow to wake up, and they are slow to go to sleep. When the fire was roaring, the bricks deep inside the stove were drinking up the heat. They were soaking it up like a dry sponge soaks up water. Now the fire is gone, but the bricks are full. They are holding all that energy inside their heavy red bodies. Now that the chimney is closed, that heat has to move. It cannot go up, so it starts to travel outwards. It moves from the super hot center of the stove towards the cooler outer walls. It travels through the solid brick, inch by inch. It is a slow journey. It takes time. This is why the stove is perfect for sleep. If you had a metal stove, the heat would be instant. But as soon as the fire died, the metal would turn cold. You would wake up shivering in the middle of the night. You would have to get up, find your boots in the dark, and put more wood on the fire. You would never get a full night of deep rest. But the brick stove is a time machine. It takes the heat from the fire at 6 p.m. and it saves it for 3 a.m. And it apes like a giant battery. You charged it up with wood. Now it will slowly release that power back to you all night long. It gives the heat back gently. It does not blast you. It just radiates a steady, constant warmth. You get up and walk over to the stove again. You want to feel the change. You place your hand on the white wall. It is much hotter now. Before it was pleasantly warm. Now it is hot. You can still touch it, but it feels very powerful. The heat is pushing out through the clay skin. You can imagine the heat moving through the wall. It's like a slow tide coming in. The warmth you feel now is from the fire that burned an hour ago. The heat from the coals glowing right now will not reach the surface for another 2 hours. It is a continuous wave. This heavy mass creates a special kind of air in the room. In a normal house, the temperature goes up and down. It gets hot, then cold, then hot again. But here, the temperature is a straight line. It is stable. It feels solid. It makes the room feel very calm. There is no noise of expanding metal. There is no clicking or pinging sound. There is just the silence of the heavy stones doing their job. You look at the shape of the stove again. It is not just a block. It is built with purpose. The walls are thickest at the bottom and thinner at the top. This helps the heat spread out evenly. The builders knew exactly what they were doing. They did not have degrees in science. They had hundreds of years of memory. They knew that a thick wall keeps the family alive. You lean your back against the warm white plaster. You can feel the heat seeping through your shirt. It relaxes your spine. It feels like a hot stone massage. The stove is the anchor of the house. The wooden walls of the house might shake in the wind. The roof might creak under the snow. But the stove does not move. It sits on its own deep foundation, separate from the floor. It is rooted in the earth. It is the unmoving center of your world. You look up. The stove is tall. It goes almost to the ceiling, and up there, near the top, there is a flat space. It looks like a ledge or a wide shelf. It is high up, where the warm air rises. That is the best place in the whole house. That is the prize. In a world where the ground is frozen hard as iron and the floor is always a little bit cool, the most valuable thing you can have is a warm place to lie down. And the clever people who built this stove did not just build a heater. They built a bed. It is waiting for you up there, a warm island floating above the cold floor. You take a step back to get a better view of the top of the giant. From where you are standing on the floor, you cannot see the surface of the sleeping area. It is too high. It is above your head, maybe as high as your shoulder or even higher. You have to stand on your tiptoes just to peek over the edge. The design is brilliant in its simplicity. The stove is built like a set of stairs. The bottom part is the cooking hearth. Then, the body of the stove goes up, and finally, it flattens out into a wide, horizontal platform. This platform is not small. It is deep and wide. It is about the size of a double bed. It is large enough for 2 or 3 adults to lie down side by side, or for a whole group of children to curl up together like puppies. This area is called the Lazanka. It is the most prized territory in the house. The surface is made of the same plastered brick as the walls. It is hard and flat. To a modern eye, it might look unforgiving. You might wonder how anyone could sleep on a bed made of rock, but you know that in a few hours, this rock will be radiating a gentle, dry heat that soothes every muscle in your body. It is better than the softest mattress because it is a living thing. It pushes warmth into you. You notice that the sleeping platform is not just the stove itself. The stove builder was clever. He knew the family needed more space. Attached to the side of the stove, there is a heavy wooden shelf. It is built from thick planks of pine. One end of the planks rests on the stove's brick ledge. The other end is fastened to the wooden wall of the house. These wooden extensions are called palati. They make the sleeping area much bigger. They turn the top of the stove into a second floor. It is like a loft or a balcony that overlooks the rest of the room. You look at the space between the sleeping platform and the ceiling. It is tight. There is not enough room to stand up there. If you stood up, you would bump your head on the heavy timber beams of the roof. This is on purpose. Heat rises. You learn this in school, but here it is a matter of survival. The cold air sinks to the floor, where your feet are right now. The warm air floats up and gathers near the ceiling. By sleeping high up close to the roof, you are swimming in the warmest lake of air in the house. You are trapping yourself in the heat. The space up there looks dark and shadowy. The light from the lamp in the corner does not quite reach it. It is a private world. Once you climb up there, you are hidden from the room below. You can see everything happening in the kitchen, the cat walking across the floor, the steam rising from the kettle, but nobody can really see you. You are safe in your warm tower. You run your hand along the edge of the brick platform. The corner is rounded. The clay's been smoothed down so there are no sharp edges to catch your clothes or scratch your skin. It feels polished. Thousands of bodies have slid over this edge over the years. Thousands of hands have grabbed this corner to pull themselves up. The human touch has worn the brick smooth, like a river stone. It looks incredibly inviting. Even without any blankets on it yet, the platform calls to you. It promises isolation. Down here on the floor, there is work to do. There are boots to clean, floors to sweep, wood to carry. But up there, on the high shelf, there is only rest. You can imagine what it looks like from up there. You would see the tops of people's heads. You would see the dark beams of the ceiling just a few inches from your nose. It is a cozy, enclosed feeling. It is like being in a burrow. The air is turning cold a night after more just by standing near it. You can feel the invisible cloud of heat hovering near the ceiling. It is a simple invention. A flat top on a brick heater. But in the middle of a Russian winter, this flat surface is the difference between shivering all night and sleeping in paradise. It is the throne of the house. But the stove is not big enough for everyone. The family is large. There is a mother, a father, grandparents, and children. Who gets the best spot? Who gets to sleep on the hot bricks? And who has to sleep on the wooden shelf? It is time to understand the hierarchy of the night. You look at the white platform. It is big, yes, but it is not endless. It cannot hold everyone. A typical family in this village is large. There is a mother and a father. There are often 4, 5, or 6 children, ranging from tall teenagers to tiny babies wrapped in cloth. And almost always there are the grandparents, the old ones. So, who gets the prize? Who gets to sleep on the hot clay? It is not a fight. There is no argument. The rules of the stove are as old as the village itself. It is a law of nature, like gravity. The heat belongs to the weak. The prime spots, right on the hottest bricks, go to the old and the very young. First, there are the grandparents, the babushka and the didushka. You can imagine them sitting on the bench below. Their hands are rough and twisted, like old tree roots. Their backs are bent from 50 years of harvesting wheat and chopping wood. For them, the cold is not just uncomfortable, it is painful. The damp winter air makes their joints ache. It makes their old bones feel brittle. The deep cold wakes up old injuries. A twisted knee from a fall long ago, a stiff shoulder from lifting heavy logs. For them, the stove is medicine. When they climb up onto that clay platform, the dry heat sinks deep into their bodies. It quiets the pain. It relaxes the stiff muscles. It allows them to sleep without waking up in agony. The stove is their doctor. It keeps them mobile. It keeps them alive for another winter. So the warmest corner, the spot where the heat rises most directly from the firebox, belongs to them. It is their place of honor. Next to them, in the safety of the warm shadows, are the smallest children. The babies and the toddlers are too small to fight the cold. Their bodies lose heat quickly. If you put a baby in a cradle on the floor, the drafts might make them sick. The floor is where the cold air creeps around like a ghost. So the babies are lifted up high. They are placed in the bird's nest. They sleep curled up against the warm back of a grandmother or tucked between the wall and the soft body of a grandfather. They are safe there. The heat wraps them in a cocoon. They sleep soundly, their little cheeks flushed pink with the warmth. So, where do the parents sleep? Where do the strong adults rest? The mother and father are in the prime of their lives. Their blood is hot. They are working hard all day, moving, chopping, carrying. They have a fire inside them. They do not need the intense heat of the clay to survive. In fact, it might be too hot for them. So they take the second best spots. They sleep on the wooden planks, the plateau that extend out from the stove. They are still high up near the warm ceiling. They are still comfortable, but they are not directly on the baking bricks, or they might sleep on the wide wooden benches fixed to the wall below. This arrangement creates a living layer cake of the family. The most vulnerable are at the top, on the rock. The strong are in the middle, on the wood. And the floor? The floor remains empty. No one sleeps on the floor in winter. The floor belongs to the cold. There is something beautiful about this. It is a physical map of love. The family literally uses their bodies to protect each other. The strong surround the weak. The heat is shared not by who is the boss, but by who needs it most. You look at the empty platform, and you can almost see the ghosts of the sleepers. You can see the outline of a small child curled up in a ball. You can see the long, heavy shape of an old man resting his tired back. It is a peaceful system. Everyone knows their place. There is no jealousy. When the children grow up and become strong teenagers, they will move to the wooden shelves. They will give up their warm spot to the new babies or the aging elders. It is the cycle of life played out every night on top of a pile of bricks. The house is quiet. The decision is made. The hierarchy is set. But you cannot just lie down on the bare clay. That would be too hard. Even with the warmth, it is still a stone surface. You need to make it soft. You need to prepare the nest. You look around the room for the bedding. It is time to make the bedding. You look at the hard clay platform. It is warm, yes, but it is still a rock. If you laid your cheek directly on those bricks, it would be uncomfortable. You would wake up with a stiff neck. You need to soften the stone. You need to build a nest. You walk over to a large wooden chest in the corner of the room. It is painted with bright flowers, red roses and green leaves. The paint is chipped, showing the dark wood underneath. You lift the heavy lid. Creak. Inside, there are no cotton sheets. There are no fluffy synthetic duvets. There is only wool and fur. In this village, animals provide the comfort. You reach in and pull out the first layer. It is a heavy grey roll. You carry it to the stove. This is a koshma. It is a thick mat made of felt. It is the same material as your boots, but much thicker and coarser. It is made from the wool of the autumn shearing, pressed hard until it is almost as tough as a carpet. You throw the roll up onto the high platform. It lands with a heavy, muffled thump. You reach up and push it. You unroll it across the warm bricks. It covers the white clay. This mat is important. It does two things. First, it cushions your bones against the hard stove. Second, it regulates the heat. If the stove gets too hot in the middle of the night, the felt stops your skin from burning. It spreads the warmth out evenly. It makes the heat gentle. Next, you go back to the chest. You pull out the sheepskins. These are not delicate furs. These are whole skins from the sheep in the barn. The leather side is soft and yellow. The wool side is thick, curly and creamy white. They smell strong. They smell of the barn, of lanolin, and of dry grass. It is a wild, earthy smell. To a stranger, it might smell dirty, but to you, it smells like deep, heavy sleep. You heave the skins up onto the platform. You lay them down on top of the felt mat. You place them with the fur side facing up. When you lie down, you want that soft wool pressing against your body. You run your hand over the fur. It is springy. Your hand sinks into it. It is deep enough to bury your fingers. This is the best mattress in the world. It holds warm air in its curls. Now for the pillows. You pick up two large, square pillows. They are stuffed with goose down. The family keeps geese in the yard, and every soft feather is saved. The pillows are huge and puffy. They're covered in simple cotton cases, maybe red or blue. You toss them up. They land softly on the sheepskins. Poof! A tiny cloud of dust motes rises up into the dim light. You climb up on the bench to reach them. You punch the pillows to fluff them up. You make a hollow in the middle for your head. Finally, you need a cover. You do not need much. Remember, the heat is coming from underneath you. You are sleeping on top of the heater. If you pile on too many heavy blankets, you will sweat, so you take a simple patchwork quilt. It is made of scraps of old clothes, squares of faded shirts, triangles of old dresses. It is a history of the family's clothing stitched together. It is light. You spread it loosely over the sheepskins. You step back and look at your work. It looks incredibly inviting. The stark hard white platform has disappeared. Now there is a soft grey and white mountain of wool waiting for you. It looks like a cave or a burrow. It is a dark, soft hole where you can hide from the winter. The heat from the stove is already moving through the layers. The felt is getting warm. The sheepskins are warming up. The smell of the warm wool is getting stronger. It fills the air near the ceiling. It is a simple bed. There are no springs. There is no frame. It is just natural materials layered on top of hot earth. But looking at it makes your eyelids feel heavy. It makes you want to curl up and close your eyes. But you cannot just jump up there. It is high. It is higher than your head. You have to climb. You look at the side of the stove. You look for the footholds. It is time to make the ascent. You stand at the bottom of the white cliff. The sleeping platform is waiting for you, but it is high above your head. It looks like a secret fort hidden away near the roof. To get there, you have to climb. There is no ladder. In a small peasant house, a ladder would take up too much precious space. You cannot just leave a ladder leaning against the stove all day. It would get in the way of the cooking and the cleaning, so the house itself is your ladder. The furniture and the stove are built to help you up. It is a little obstacle course that you have done 1,000 times. Your body knows the way without thinking. First, you step up onto the wooden bench. This bench runs along the wall, right next to the stove. It is heavy and solid. You put your foot on the smooth pine plank. You push down. Creak. The wood groans a little under your weight. It is a familiar sound. It is the sound of the house saying goodnight. You stand on the bench. Now you are taller. You can see the top of the table. You can see the dusty tops of the cupboards. You are already leaving the ground floor behind, but you are not high enough yet. The sleeping platform is still at your chest level. You turn towards the stove. You look for the foothold. The builder of the stove knew you would need to climb. So, when he laid the bricks, he left a small gap. He made a little hollow space in the side of the wall. It is like a little cave for your foot. It is called a niche. You reach out with your hand. You place your palm flat on the warm white clay of the stove shoulder. It is solid. It anchors you. Then you lift your leg. You guide your foot into the little brick cave. Your felt boot fits perfectly inside. The brick is rough against the sole of your foot, but it holds you tight. You take a deep breath. You push with your leg. You pull with your arm. You lift yourself up. As you rise, you pass through the invisible layers of the air. This is the most amazing part of the climb. It happens in just a few seconds, but you feel it clearly. When you were standing on the floor, the air was cool. It was maybe 16 or 17 degrees. It was okay, but you needed your wool sweater. When you stood on the bench, the air got warmer. It was softer on your face. But now, as you pull your head up towards the ceiling, you enter the tropical zone. You hit the layer of heat that hangs under the roof. It is sudden. It washes over your face like opening an oven door. The air here is thick and dry. It is 25 degrees, maybe warmer. It smells different up here too. Down below, the air smelled of the floor and the door. Up here, the air smells of dried herbs hanging from the rafters. It smells of the warm dust on the top of the stove. It smells of the pine resin in the ceiling beams. It is a rich, sleepy smell. You are now hanging onto the side of the stove. Your chest is level with the sleeping platform. You can see your bed properly now. You can see the grey sheepskins waiting for you. You can see the dent in the pillow. It looks so soft compared to the hard work of the climb. You have to do the final move. It is a bit of a scramble. You cannot walk onto the bed. You have to roll. You lean your upper body forward. You put your elbows on the sheepskins. The wool is soft under your arms. The heat from the bricks comes right through the bedding and warms your elbows instantly. You kick off with your foot from the little brick niche. You swing your leg up. You slide your hips over the edge. It is not a graceful movement. It is a bit clumsy. You wiggle and scoot. You pull your knees up. But then you are there. You are up. You sit up on your knees on the soft sheepskins. You are now the king of the castle. You are on the highest point in the room. You pause to catch your breath. The climb was short, but it took a little effort. Your heart is beating a little faster. Thump. Thump. You look down. The room looks completely different from up here. The floor seems very far away. The table looks like a toy. The boots you left by the door look like tiny grey mice. You feel a separation from that world. Down there on the floor is the world of work. That is where you chop vegetables. That is where you mend tools. That is where you worry about the winter. But up here, on the stove, that world cannot touch you. You are on an island. You look up. The ceiling is right there. It is only a few inches above your head. You have to hunch your shoulders a little to fit. The ceiling boards are dark. They are stained with soot from years of smoke. You can see the grain of the wood, like rivers flowing across the sky. In the corner, where the wall meets the roof, you see a small spiderweb. It is grey and dusty. The spider is asleep. Even the spiders like the warm air up here. You feel a sense of secret safety. You are tucked away in the shadows. The light from the icon lamp down in the corner is far below you. Up here, it is dim and private. The heat is surrounding you now. It is not just coming from the stove underneath you. It is in the air around your ears. It is reflecting off the wooden ceiling. You are wrapped in a blanket of warm air. You shuffle forward on your knees. The sheepskins are slippery against the felt mat. You move towards the back of the platform, towards the wall. This is the warmest spot. This is where the chimney rises up. The bricks of the chimney are hot to the touch. You sit back on your heels. You are settled. The climb has changed your mindset. You have left the cold earth and ascended to the warm sky. You feel heavy and slow. The heat is making your eyelids droop. The sharp, alert feeling you had outside in the snow is gone. Now, there is only a soft, fuzzy feeling in your brain. You are ready to lie down. You are ready to surrender to the heat. You reach out and touch the ceiling beams with your hand. The wood is warm and dry. It feels like the house is holding you in its hand. You are safe in the palm of the giant. Outside, the wind is howling. You can hear it tearing at the roof. It sounds angry. It sounds hungry. But it is just a noise. It is a story happening to someone else. It is not happening to you. You are high up. You are warm. You are ready to find out what is beneath the wall. You are sitting on your knees on the soft sheepskins. The ceiling is close above your head. The air is warm and still. But you are not fully settled yet. You are still holding yourself up. You are still using your muscles to sit straight. It is time to let go. You shift your weight. You move your legs out from under you. You stretch them out long towards the end of the platform. Your feet brush against the warm brick wall at the far end. You lean back. You lower your shoulders. You sink into the pile of wool. Your head hits the big, soft pillow. It fluffs up around your ears. It quiets the world even more. You stare up at the dark wooden planks of the ceiling. You let your hands fall to your sides. You open your palms to the warm air. You exhale. A long, slow breath. And then you feel it. It starts at your shoulder blades. It moves down your spine. It spreads to your hips. It is the heat. But this is not like the heat from the sun which hits your face from above. And it is not like the heat from a fire which hits your front from the side. This is different. This heat is coming from underneath you. It is rising up from the deep, solid earth of the stove. It feels strange at first. We are not used to heat coming from below. But after a few seconds, you realize it is the most relaxing feeling in the world. The heat travels through the white clay. It travels through the thick felt mat. It travels through the sheepskin. By the time it reaches your back, it is a perfect, steady warmth. It feels like a slow, heavy liquid. It feels like warm water seeping into your clothes. You can feel it entering your body. It moves into your muscles. Think about your back. All day, your back has been working. It has been holding you up. It has been shivering a little in the cold wind. Your muscles are tight. They are like hard knots of rope. But the heat from the stove knows how to fix this. It pushes gently against those tight knots. It melts them. You can physically feel your back loosening. Your spine seems to get longer. Your shoulders drop down away from your ears. The tension just flows out of you and disappears into the mattress. It is a deep, penetrating heat. It goes right through you. It warms your lungs. It warms your stomach. It makes your whole core feel glowing and safe. You lie there, perfectly still. You do not want to move. If you move, you might break the connection with the warm bricks. You think about the engineering of this moment. Underneath you, there are tons of masonry. That mass is doing all the work. It is holding onto the energy from the fire you built hours ago. It is releasing it slowly, bit by bit. It is like a giant, gentle hand holding you up. The stove is acting like a battery. It charged up during the day, and now it is discharging into you. You wiggle your toes. Even your feet are warm. The heat reaches all the way to the end of the platform. There are no cold spots here. There are no drafts. In a normal bed, you have to curl up in a ball to get warm. You have to wait for your own body heat to warm up the cold sheets. You shiver for the first 10 minutes. But here, the bed is already waiting for you. It was ready before you even climbed up. You can stretch out fully. You can make yourself long. You can make yourself long. You can take up space. The heat is everywhere. It feels dry. That is another good thing. It is not a damp, sweaty heat. The clay absorbs moisture, so the air around you is dry and clean. It feels healthy. It feels like the desert sun, but without the bright light. You close your eyes. You focus entirely on your back. You can feel the exact shape of the bricks underneath the padding. They are solid. They are unmoving. There is a sense of total support. The wooden floor of a house might bounce a little when you walk. A bed frame might squeak. But the stove is built on the ground. It does not shake. It does not vibrate. It is as still as a mountain. Lying on it makes you feel heavy. It pulls you down. Gravity seems stronger here. It pulls your eyelids down. It pulls your eyelids down. It pulls your thoughts down. You are no longer a person worrying about the winter. You are just a body resting on a warm rock. You listen to your own breathing. It has slowed down. It matches the slow, steady radiation of the heat. In, out. The heat is a shield. You know that outside these walls the temperature is dropping. It is getting colder and colder. The trees are cracking in the frost. The snow is turning into ice, but that cold cannot reach you from below. The stove is a fortress. It blocks the cold from the ground. It creates a barrier of thermal energy that nothing can cross. You feel a wave of gratitude. You are thankful for the mud. You are thankful for the men who dug the clay. You are thankful for the hands that stacked the bricks. They built this machine to keep you safe, and it is working perfectly. You shift slightly, settling deeper into the sheepskin. The wool tickles your neck. The heat surges up again, finding a new spot on your back to warm. You are floating on a raft of heat, and the night is just beginning. You are lying flat on your back. The heat is soaking into your spine. But now, you notice something else. You notice the air you are breathing. Up here, near the ceiling, the air is different. It is not like the air outside, which is thin and sharp. It is not even like the air down on the floor, which is cool and neutral. The air up here is heavy. It is thick. It feels substantial, like a soft liquid that you drink with your lungs. You take a slow, deep breath. In. The first thing you smell is the wood. You are lying very close to the ceiling. The heavy wooden beams of the roof are just a few centimeters above your nose. These beams are made of pine. They have been here for 50 years, maybe more. But wood never really sleeps. The heat from the stove rises up and warms the ceiling. It cooks the wood gently. It wakes up the sap inside the timber. Even though the wood is old and dry, deep inside there is still a memory of the forest. You can smell the resin. It is a sweet golden smell. It smells like hot pine needles in the middle of July. It smells like sticky sap running down a tree trunk. It is a clean, sharp scent that clears your nose. It reminds you of sunshine, even though it is dark outside. You breathe out. Out, you take another breath. Now, you smell something earthier. Remember the moss. The walls of the house are sealed with dried moss packed between the logs. Up here, near the roof, the moss is warm and brittle. It gives off a faint, dusty scent. It smells like dry tea leaves. It smells like the forest floor in autumn dry leaves, dry grass, and clean dirt. It is a comforting smell. It connects you to the land. You are not sleeping in a plastic box. You are sleeping inside a structure made of trees and moss and earth. You are sleeping inside nature. There are other smells mixed in too. In a Russian peasant house, the space under the roof is often used for storage. It is the driest place in the house. So, hanging from the rafters nearby, there might be bunches of herbs. You turn your head slightly on the pillow. You can see shadowy bundles hanging from a nail. Perhaps it is mint. Perhaps it is thyme or chamomile. They were picked last summer when the fields were green. Now, they are grey and crinkled. The rising heat passes through these bundles. It releases their oils into the air. It makes a faint herbal tea in the air around your head. You breathe in the mint. It is soothing. It makes your eyelids feel heavy. It tells your brain that it's time to rest. And underneath the wood and the herbs, there is the smell of the stove itself. It is a hard smell to describe. It is the smell of hot dust. It is the smell of baked clay. It is the smell of a stone that has been sitting in the sun all day. It is a very dry smell. This is important. If the air were damp and mouldy, you would feel sick. But the stove dries everything out. The air is crisp. It feels sterile and pure. When you breathe it in, it feels like it is cleaning your lungs. You lie there and let this heavy, scented air fill your chest. It feels like a blanket for your insides. Every time you inhale, you are pulling the warmth into the center of your body. The warm air travels down your throat. It warms your windpipe. It fills your lungs with a glowing feeling. You realize that the air up here is stratified. That means it sits in layers. The hottest, thickest air is trapped right here against the ceiling. It cannot go anywhere. It just hangs here, waiting for you to breathe it. It creates a drowsy feeling. It is hard to keep your eyes open. The heaviness of the air seems to press down on your forehead. It presses on your eyelids. It is a gentle weight, like a warm hand resting on your face. You think about the cold air outside. Outside, the air is hungry. It wants to steal your heat. It bites your nose. It makes you gasp. But here, the air is generous. It gives to you. It is rich with the history of the house. You can smell faint traces of the day's life. Maybe there is a tiny whisper of the rye bread that was baked this morning. A sour, yeast-like smell that is very faint but very homey. Maybe there is a tiny hint of the birch wood smoke from the fire earlier. It is not a choking smoke, just a faint, spicy memory of the burning wood. All these smells float up. They rise with the heat. They collect here in your private corner. You are swimming in the atmosphere of the home. It makes you feel incredibly safe. You are breathing in the essence of your life. You are breathing in the work you did, the food you ate, the wood you chopped. It is all here, suspended in the warm air. Your breathing slows down. In, 2, 3, out, 2, 3. The air feels slow. It resists you just a little bit. It is so thick with warmth that you have to breathe deliberately. This rhythm rocks you. It calms your heart rate. You feel a sense of abundance. In a world where everything is frozen and dead outside, you have this richness. You have heat. You have the smell of summer pine. You have the smell of harvest herbs. You have everything you need right here in this cubic meter of air above the stove. You're not just warm on the outside. You are warm on the inside. You are filled with the warm spirit of the house. The silence seems to get thicker too. The heavy air muffles sounds. The wind is cold, finding your clothes. The creaks of the house sound dull and distant. The air is wrapping you up in a cocoon of silence and scent. You let your head roll back to the center of the pillow. You are drinking the heat. You are tasting the safety. The heavy air is pushing you down, down, down into the soft sheepskins. And as you lie there, feeling completely protected, you begin to listen. You listen to the world outside, the world you have escaped. You lie still on your warm island. The air is heavy and sweet with the smell of dried herbs. Your body feels like it is melting into the sheepskins. For while your body is resting, your ears are awake. You are listening to the world outside. The wind has changed. When you walked home, it was a steady, cold breeze. But now, deep in the night, it has turned into something else. It has become a blizzard. You can hear it clearly, even through the thick walls. It starts as a low moan. It sounds like a train moving far away in the distance. Ooh, that it gets louder. It rises to a high, thin whistle. You can hear it tearing around the corners of the house. It is searching for a way in. Thump. A heavy gust of wind hits the side of the house. It sounds like a giant hand slapping the wood. The whole house creaks. It is a small sound, just a dry groan of the timbers adjusting to the pressure. It does not sound dangerous. It sounds like the house is flexing its muscles. It is bracing itself against the storm. You think about the walls that separate you from that wind. They are made of round logs, each one as thick as a man's waist. They are solid wood, grown slowly in the cold northern forests. Wood is an amazing thing. It is made of millions of tiny air pockets. It does not let the heat out, and it does not let the cold in. Between the logs you remember the stripes of moss. That dried moss is holding tight. The wind is pushing against it, trying to find a hole, but the moss is packed solid. Not a single breath of cold air can get through. You lie there and imagine what it is like on the other side of that wall, just half a meter away from your head, on the other side of the wood. It is a different planet. Out there, the air is full of flying snow. The wind is picking up the dry powder from the ground and spinning it in the air. It is a white chaos. If you were standing there, you would not be able to see your own hand in front of your face. The cold would bite your skin instantly. It would freeze your eyelashes in seconds. But you are not out there, you are here. There is a special kind of pleasure in this. It is the joy of contrast. The worse the storm sounds, the better you feel. The louder the wind howls, the safer you feel in your warm nest. It is like being in a submarine deep under the ocean, or a spaceship in the dark sky. You are in a bubble of life, in the middle of a white desert. Tick tick, you hear a new sound. It is a light, sharp tapping on the glass of the window. It sounds like someone is throwing sand at the house. It is the hard snow. The wind is throwing ice crystals against the window panes. They hit the glass and bounce off. They want to come in, but the glass stops them. The frost on the inside of the window is thick and white. It glows softly in the dark. It is a beautiful shield. You snuggle deeper into your pillow. You pull the quilt up a little higher, just under your chin. The movement releases a fresh puff of warm, sheep-scented air. You think about the roof above you. It is steep and pointed. This is clever engineering. When the wind hits the roof, it is pushed up and over. The house is shaped to let the storm slide off it. It does not fight the wind. It lets the wind flow over it like water over a smooth stone. And the snow helps too. As the blizzard blows, snow is piling up against the walls outside. You cannot see it, but you know it is there. It is drifting up against the logs. In most places, being buried in snow sounds scary, but here it is a good thing. The snow is acting like a second wall. It is an extra layer of insulation. It covers the cracks. It wraps the house in a white blanket. The house is snuggling down into the earth, hiding from the sky. The noise of the wind rises and falls. It has a rhythm. It screams for a minute, shaking the eaves. Then it goes quiet, catching its breath. In those quiet moments, the silence inside the house feels enormous. You can hear the fire in the stove settling. Every now and then there is a tiny clink from deep inside the brick chimney. It is a cooling brick, settling into place. It is a peaceful sound. You feel a profound sense of gratitude. You are thankful for the axe that cut the trees. You are thankful for the strong backs that lifted the logs. You are thankful for the clever hands that mixed the clay. People you never met, people who lived 100 years ago, built this shell to keep you safe tonight. They knew the storm was coming. They prepared for it. You are the beneficiary of their hard work. You are just a passenger on this warm ship. The heat from the stove surges up again. It seems to come in waves. Just when you think you are as warm as possible, another pulse of heat rises through the mattress. It relaxes your toes. It relaxes your fingers. You feel heavy and soft, like a pat of butter melting on a warm potato. The howling outside starts to sound like a lullaby. It is a white noise. It blocks out any other thoughts. You don't have to think about tomorrow. You don't have to think about your chores. The storm has stopped the world. Nothing can move out there. No one can come visit. You cannot go anywhere. You are trapped, but in the most wonderful way. You are forced to rest. The blizzard is giving you permission to do absolutely nothing but lie here and be warm. You close your eyes and listen to the wind hunting for you. It scratches at the roof. It rattles the shutters, but it cannot find you. You are hidden high up in the shadows, on top of the warm rock, wrapped in wool. You are untouchable. The feeling of safety is so strong. It is almost a physical sensation in your chest. It is a lightness. The anxiety of the cold is gone. The fear of the dark is gone. There is only the stove, the wood, and you. You let the sound of the storm wash over you. It is the soundtrack of your safety. Let it blow. Let it howl. The harder it blows, the warmer you feel. You are safe from the storm. You shift your legs on the soft sheepskin. Your feet are warm and dry now. The woolen socks you're wearing are clean and soft, but lying there, safe and comfortable, your mind drifts to what you left behind down on the floor. You think about your boots. Remember those grey felt boots, the Valenki? When you walked in from the snow, they were stiff with cold. They were covered in white dust. The soles were frozen hard. If you left them on the floor by the door, the cold air from the entryway would keep them cold all night. The snow on them would not mate properly. It would just turn into a soggy, icy slush. And tomorrow morning, when you tried to put them on, it would be a terrible experience. Putting your warm foot into a damp, freezing boot is one of the worst feelings in the world. It sucks the heat right out of you. It makes your toes hurt before you even step outside. But you did not leave them on the floor. The stove has a special place for them. You roll onto your side and peek over the edge of the sleeping platform. You look down the side of the white mountain. The wall of the stove is not just a flat, boring surface. It is full of little hollows and caves. The builders of the stove were very clever. They did not just stack the bricks in a solid block. They left spaces on purpose. These spaces are called pacherki. It is a cute word. It sounds small and friendly. They are little niches or alcoves built right into the hot clay wall. They look like small windows that don't go anywhere. They are pockets for the house. You can see your boots sitting in one of these large niches down below. You placed them there just before you climbed up. You shook off the loose snow, and then you tucked them into the warm brick cave. They fit perfectly. The niche is deep enough so the boots don't fall out. Now you can watch the magic happen. The heat from the bricks is surrounding the boots. It is not a fierce fire that would scorch the wool. It is a gentle, steady warmth. It wraps around the felt. You can see a very faint movement in the air around the boots. It looks like a little ghost dancing. It is steam. The heat is driving the moisture out of the felt. The snow that was stuck deep in the wool fibers is melting. It turns into water and then instantly turns into vapor. The white steam rises up slowly. It drifts past the sleeping platform and disappears into the shadows of the ceiling. It is a slow process. It will take all night. But the stove is patient. You can smell it too. As the steam rises, it brings a scent with it. It smells of wet wool. It is a distinct smell. It smells a bit like a wet dog, but cleaner. It smells like a damp sweater drying by a radiator. To some people, this might smell bad. But to you, it smells like success. It smells like survival. That smell means the system is working. It means that the wetness, the enemy that leads to frostbite, is being defeated. The stove is pushing the water out, leaving the wool dry and full of air again. You think about the texture of the boots. Felt is an amazing material. It is made of thousands of strands of wool tangled together. When it is dry, those strands trap air. That air keeps your feet warm, but when it is wet, the water fills the gaps. The water conducts the cold straight to your skin. A wet boot is a dangerous boot, but by tomorrow morning, thanks to the pacherki, those boots will be transformed. When you climb down in the grey light of dawn, you will reach into the niche. You will pull the boots out. They will not be cold. They will be hot. The thick felt will be heated all the way through. When you slide your foot inside, it will feel like putting your foot into a toaster oven. But in a good way, the heat will grab your ankles. It will make you feel brave enough to open the door and face the snow again. You look at the other niches on the stove. Your boots are not the only things enjoying the warmth. In a smaller niche just above the boots, you see your mittens. They are also made of wool, knitted by hand. They were stiff with ice when you came in. You had used them to clear the snow from the path, and the snow had frozen onto the palms. Now they are lying flat on the warm bricks. They look like little hands resting. A tiny wisp of steam is rising from them too. They are drying out, getting soft and flexible again. In another niche, you see something else. It is not clothing. It is food. The grandmother has placed a tray of sliced apples in one of the pockets. The heat of the stove is slowly drying them out. Over the next few days, the moisture will leave the apples. They will turn into chewy, sweet rings. They will keep for months. This is the beauty of the stove. It does not waste anything. The heat is already there, trapped in the bricks, so the family uses every single bit of it. They use the top for sleeping. They use the inside for cooking. And they use the walls for drying. The stove is like a machine that processes the whole life of the family. It fixes your clothes. It preserves your food. It heals your body. You watch the boots for a moment longer. They look cozy down there in their little cave. They look like two great animals hibernating for the winter. Knowing they are there makes you feel prepared. You don't have to worry about tomorrow. The stove is taking care of the future while you sleep. You don't have to get up and turn them over. You don't have to check on them. The heat is constant and reliable. You pull your head back from the edge. You snuggle back down into your pillow. The smell of the drying wool mixes with the smell of the pine and the herbs. It creates a thick, humid atmosphere. It makes the air feel lived in. It is not a sterile hotel room. It is a working home. You wiggle your toes under the sheepskin blanket. Your feet are free and warm. You are glad you are not wearing the boots now, but you are very glad they will be warm when you need them. The steam from the boots adds a little bit of moisture to the air up here. It makes the air softer to breathe. It stops your throat from getting too dry. Everything is connected. The boots dry, the air gets humid, you sleep better. You close your eyes. You can imagine the heat working on the felt fibers down there, pushing the water out. Push, push, making space for the warmth. It is a quiet work. A slow work, just like the night. The house is full of these small, quiet processes. The wood cooling, the dough rising, the apples drying, the boots steaming, and you sleeping. You are just one more thing that is being recharged by the white giant. You let out a long sigh. The worry about the cold boots is gone. You are ready to go deeper into the relaxation. You are ready to listen to the smallest sounds of the house. The wind is still blowing outside, but inside there is a tiny musical sound. A sound that means the house is peaceful. The house is settling into the deepest part of the night. The fire in the belly of the stove has turned into a bed of silent, glowing ash. The steam from your drying boots has faded into the air. The wind aside is still blowing, but after listening to it for an hour, your ears have grown used to it. It has become just a background hum, like the sound of the ocean. Now that your breathing is slow and quiet, you start to hear the smaller sounds, the sounds that hide in the silence. You lie very still on your back. You stare up at the dark timber of the ceiling, and then you hear it chirp. It is a sharp, clear sound. It pauses. Chirp, chirp. It is coming from right underneath you, or maybe just behind your head. It is coming from the small dark crack between the stove and the wooden wall. It is a cricket. In a modern house, hearing an insect might make you worry. You might think of it as a pest. You might want to get up and chase it away. But here, in the peasant's house, the cricket is not an enemy. He is a friend. He is a very important guest. In Russia, the cricket who lives behind the stove is a sign of good luck. He is a symbol of a happy home. Think about why he is here. The cricket is a small, cold-blooded creature. If the house were cold, he would freeze. If the stove went out, he would go silent. He can only sing when the bricks are warm. So his song is a message. Every time he chirps, he is telling you the stove is hot, the house is safe, the winter has not won. Chirp. The sound is rhythmic. It is steady. It is like the ticking of a clock, but more natural. It is a living metronome. You listen to the pattern. It is not perfect. Sometimes he speeds up a little. Sometimes he stops for a long time, and you wonder if he has gone to sleep. But then, just as your mind starts to drift, he starts again. Chirp. Chirp. It is a lonely sound, but in a good way. It emphasizes how quiet everything else is. It reminds you that you and this tiny bug are the only ones awake in the warm dark. You are both sharing the same heat. You are both clinging to the side of the same artificial mountain. You imagine him down there in the narrow gap. The wall of the stove is radiating heat into the dark crack. It must be like a tropical paradise for him. He is sitting there, rubbing his legs together, singing his song of praise to the warmth. He is the oldest companion of the peasant. Before there were radios, before there was electricity, there was the cricket. On long winter nights when the sun set at 4 in the afternoon and the hut was pitch black, his voice was the only music. It is a hypnotic sound. It is boring, and that is why it is perfect for sleep. It does not ask you to think. It does not tell a story. It just repeats, over and over again. Cry, 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 cry. Your brain tries to follow the sound. You wait for the next chirp. When it comes, your brain relaxes. It is a loop. It stops your mind from wandering to worries about tomorrow. It ties your attention to the present moment. You feel a strange affection for this little neighbor. He is small and fragile, but he's found a way to survive the brutal Russian winter. He found the one warm spot in the freezing world, just like you did. You are roommates. You are the giant sleeping on the roof of his house. He is the watchman singing in the basement. The sound seems to make the air feel warmer. It is a dry, rasping sound, like dry grass rubbing together in the summer sun. Hearing it triggers a memory of July. It makes you think of green fields and hot afternoons. It brings a tiny piece of summer into the winter night. The family down below is asleep. You can hear the heavy breathing of the grandfather on the bench. You can hear a soft sigh from the parents on the wooden shelf. But the cricket is awake. He is keeping watch with you. Chirp, it is a brave little noise. The wind outside is roaring like a monster. It is screaming and tearing at the roof. But the cricket does not care. He just keeps singing his little song. He is defiant. He is saying, I am here and I am warm. You close your eyes. You let the sound wash over you. It vibrates in your ears. Some people say that if the cricket leaves the house, it is a bad omen. It means the house has lost its spirit. It means the warmth has gone. But as long as you hear him, you know everything is in order. The universe of the house is working correctly. You snuggle deeper into the sheepskin. The wool is tickling your ear, the heat is soaking into your back, and the rhythm continues. Chirp, chirp, chirp. It starts to mix with your own heartbeat. Chirp. It starts to mix with your own heartbeat. It slows down your pulse. You wonder if he ever sleeps. Or maybe there is more than one cricket. Maybe they take turns. Maybe they have shifts, just like guards on a wall. It doesn't matter. The sound is always there. It is the heartbeat of the stove. The darkness of the room feels friendly now. It is not an empty silence. It is a silence filled with life. The house is not a dead shell. It is a living creature, breathing and singing. You feel a heaviness in your limbs. The sound is acting like a lullaby. It is pulling you down towards deep sleep. Chirp. Your thoughts are getting fuzzy. The sharp line between you and the room is blurring. You are just part of the warm pile of life on the stove. You are safe. You are warm. You are not alone. The cricket sings on. He will sing all night. He will sing until the sun comes up and the fire is lit again. He is the guardian of the dark hours. You let go of the last bit of tension in your jaw. You stop listening for the wind. You only listen for the cricket. And as you drift deeper, your mind turns to another guardian, a silent one that you cannot hear, but the people believe is watching over you just as closely as the cricket. It is time to think about the spirit of the house. The cricket is singing his song. Chirp, chirp, chirp. But as you listen to him, your mind drifts to something else. You think about who else might be listening in the dark. In the old stories of this village, the house is not empty. It has a soul. It has a master, and his name is the domovoi. You cannot see him. You are not supposed to see him, but everyone knows he is there. He is the spirit of the house. He is the guardian who watches over the family while they sleep. And where does he live? He lives right here, behind the stove. The stove is the warmest place, so naturally, it is the place of honor, the space behind the chimney, deep in the shadows where the broom stands. That is his territory. You are sleeping on top of the stove, but he is sleeping behind it. You are neighbors. You imagine what he looks like. The stories say he looks like a very small, very old man. He is no taller than a young child. He has a long grey beard that reaches the floor. And he is covered in soft, warm hair, just like the felt on your boots. He is a fuzzy, grumpy little grandfather. He is not a ghost. He is not scary.
He is family. In fact, people often call him grandfather or master out of respect. He is the one who keeps the house standing. He checks the corners for drafts. He keeps the mice away from the grain.
He wakes you up if the fire is smoking too much. He is the invisible caretaker. You think about the small saucer of milk the mother left on the floor before she went to bed. It sits near the stove door. There is a crust of salted bread next to it. It is a gift for the domovoi. It is a way of saying, thank you. Thank you for not letting the roof leak.
Thank you for keeping the horses healthy in the barn. If the family treats him well, he is kind. He strokes the hair of the children while they sleep to soothe them. He braids the horses' manes in the stable. But he likes order. He hates a messy house. If you leave the floor dirty or shout at your family, he gets angry. He might bang on the walls at night. Thump, he might hide your socks.
He is a strict master. But tonight, the house is clean, the floor is swept, the bread is baked, the stove is hot, the domovoi is happy. Lying there on the high platform, you feel a strange sense of comfort knowing he's there. The world outside is full of wild things. The forest is dark and deep. There are wolves. There are spirits of the cold wind that want to freeze you. The Russians believe the forest belongs to wild, dangerous magic. But the house is a fortress of safety. And the domovoi is the captain of the fortress. No bad spirit from the forest can enter the house as long as the domovoi is watching. He stands at the door. He guards the threshold. He is small, but he is ancient and strong. He draws a line in the sand that the darkness cannot cross. You look at the shadows dancing on the ceiling beams. The light from the icon lamp flickers, making the shadows move. Is that just a shadow, or is it the little grandfather checking the chimney? You do not feel fear, you feel protected. It is like having a guard dog, but one that is wiser and older than you. You can almost feel his presence in the heavy air.
It is a feeling of being watched, but with love. It is the feeling of a parent checking on a sleeping child. He is making sure your blanket is pulled up. He is making sure the heat is still rising. The house feels crowded in a good way. The grandparents, the parents, the children, the cricket, and the spirit. You are all packed in together in this wooden box, floating in the sea of snow. You are a team. You close your eyes. You send a silent thought to the space behind the stove. Good night, grandfather. Thank you for the warmth. The house creaks gently. Maybe it is the wind, or maybe it is the domovoi settling down on his bed of old straw, satisfied that his family is safe for another night. The belief in him makes the house feel like a living thing.
It is not just dead wood and brick. It has a personality. It has moods. And right now, the mood is peaceful. The air around you smells of the herbs and the smoke. It is the smell of the domovoi's home. You are a guest in his kingdom, and he has granted you the best spot right on top of his warm castle. You feel a deep, primitive relaxation.
The modern world with its science and electricity is far away. Here there is only the fire, the family, and the spirits of the hearth. It is a simpler world, a world where everything has a name and a purpose. Your breathing gets deeper. You are safe from the wolves. You are safe from the frost. The little hairy grandfather is on duty. Your mind starts to wander to the morning.
You think about what will happen when the sun comes up. You think about the smell that will wake you up. The smell of the most important food in the world. It is time to dream about the bread. You are safe in the dark. The cricket is chirping. The house spirit is watching. But there is another living thing in the room with you. It is not an animal. It is not a person. It is the food.
Drifting in the warm air, you catch a new scent. It is not the pine of the ceiling or the wool of the sheepskins. It is a sour, heavy smell. It smells like wet earth and lemon and dark beer. It is the smell of the bread rising. Down on the floor, near the warm wall of the stove, there is a large wooden tub. It is round and deep, made of oak staves held together with iron hoops.
In Russian, this tub is called the kavashnia. Inside that tub is the most important thing the family owns. It is the dough for the black rye bread. This is not the light, fluffy white bread you might buy at a supermarket. This is black bread. It is dark, heavy, and wet. It is sour and strong. It is the fuel that keeps the peasants alive. Without this bread, they could not work in the fields. They could not survive the cold. They eat it with every meal. Sometimes it is the meal. The dough is alive. Earlier this evening, before the mother went to sleep, she mixed the flour and the water in the tub, but she did not add a packet of yeast from a shop. She used the starter. The wooden tub is never scrubbed clean with soap. That would kill the magic. Inside the wood, in the cracks and the grain, lives the old dough from yesterday, and the day before, and the year before. It is an ancient culture of yeast and good bacteria. It lives in the wood. When the fresh flour touches the old wood, it wakes up. But it needs one thing to grow. It needs warmth. If the house were cold, the dough would sit there like a lump of wet grey clay. It would stay flat. It would be hard and impossible to eat. So the tub is placed carefully. It is put on the bench right next to the stove. It is placed in the zone of life. You can imagine what is happening inside that tub right now while you sleep. The heat from the white bricks is radiating out. It hits the wooden side of the tub. It warms the grey mixture inside. The yeast begins to work. It starts to eat the sugars in the flour. It breathes out tiny bubbles of gas. Pop. Slowly, silently, the dough begins to rise. It lifts itself up. It stretches. It swells like a slow wave. It doubles in size. It fills the tub with a web of bubbles. You and the bread are doing the same thing. You are both resting near the giant white stove. You are both soaking up the energy from the fire. The stove is recharging your muscles, and it is charging the bread with air. You are companions in the warmth. The smell drifting up to your sleeping platform is comforting. It triggers a deep hunger, but not a painful one. It is a promise. It tells you that when you wake up, there will be food. You think about how the stove cooks this bread. Tomorrow morning, very early, the mother will wake up. The fire will be out. The stove will be dark inside. But it will still be incredibly hot. The bricks hold the heat for 24 hours. She will sweep the ash out of the tunnel. Then she will take a special tool. It is a long wooden paddle called a sadnik. The handle is as long as a spear. She will put a round loaf of the risen dough on the paddle. She will slide the long handle deep into the mouth of the stove. Whoosh! She will flick her wrist, and the round loaf will slide onto the hot floor of the oven. She will do this 4, 5, 6 times. Then she will close the metal door. The bread does not bake with fire. It bakes with the falling heat. The stove is slowly cooling down from very hot to just hot. This slow, gentle decline is perfect for rye bread. It needs a long, slow bake to cook all the way through to the center. It will sit there for hours in the dark, hot belly of the stove. The crust will turn thick and dark brown, almost black. The inside will become soft and chewy. But right now, it is just waiting. The smell is getting stronger. It is a sour, acidic smell, but it feels clean. It cleans the air in the room. You lie on your back and breathe it in. It reminds you of the fields in late summer. It reminds you of the tall rye stalks waving in the wind. The sun grew the grain, the peasants harvested it, the mill ground it, and now the stove is turning it into life. It is a slow process. In the modern world, we want everything fast. We want bread in an hour. We want instant food. But here, you cannot rush. The dough takes all night to rise. The stove takes all day to heat. The bread takes hours to bake. The speed of the house is the speed of nature. It is slow, rhythmic, and patient. Lying there, you feel part of this slow cycle. Your breathing matches the slow rising of the dough. You are not in a hurry. The night is long. There's plenty of time. You visualize the tub again. It looks like a small, fat fortress made of wood. Inside, the grey mass is gently bubbling. It is warm to the touch. It is like a living creature sleeping next to the stove. Sometimes, if the room is very quiet, you might even hear it. A tiny wet sound, squelch, a bubble breaking the surface. It is the sound of chemistry happening in the dark. The warmth of the stove is the engine that drives everything. It dries the boots. It warms the sleepers. It rises the bread. It is the sun in the center of the solar system of the house. You feel a sense of abundance. Even though the winter outside is barren and empty, inside there is growth. The house is a factory of life. The house is a factory of life. The sour smell mixes with the smell of the sheepskins. It creates a thick, savory atmosphere. It makes you feel drowsy and full. It is the smell of home. You wrap the quilt tighter around your shoulders. You know that tomorrow the house will smell of baking bread. That rich, toasted smell will fill every corner. It will wake you up better than any alarm clock. But for now, there is only the sour promise of the dough.
The heat pulses up from the bricks under your back. It is steady. It does not waver. It is cooking you gently, too. It is cooking the tiredness out of your bones. It is making you soft and relaxed. Just like the dough, you drift deeper into the darkness. The heavy, yeast-scented air sits in your lungs. It feels grounding. It connects you to the earth and the soil. You are safe. You are warm.
You will be fed. And as the heat works on your muscles, you realize that the stove is not just fixing the bread. It is fixing you. It is healing the aches and pains of the hard work you did today. It is time to feel the healing. You shift your weight slightly on the sheepskins. You can feel the hard surface of the bricks underneath the wool. At first you might think that sleeping on a hard rock is a bad idea. You might think it would hurt. But for the people of this village, the hardness is the whole point. The stove is not just a bed, it is a hospital. Think about the day you just had. Life here is hard physical labor. You did not sit in a chair all day, you were outside. You were swinging a heavy axe to chop the firewood. You were carrying heavy buckets of water from the frozen river, hanging from a wooden yoke across your shoulders. You were bending down to shovel snow. Your body is tired, your muscles are tight, your back feels like it is tied in knots. Your spine feels compressed, squashed down by the weight of the water buckets. If you lay down on a soft, sinking mattress, your back would stay curved. The knots would stay tight. You would wake up still feeling stiff. But the stove is different. It is rigid. It is unyielding. When you lie flat on your back on the platform, gravity takes over. The hard surface pushes up against you. It forces your spine to straighten out. It pushes your shoulders back. It aligns your bones. You can feel it happening right now. You stretch your legs out. You let your arms fall to the side. You feel a gentle pop in your lower back. It is a good sound. It is the sound of your spine lengthening. You are getting taller. The stove is ironing you out. And then there is the heat. This is the real medicine. The heat from the clay is not just skin deep. It is what we call deep heat. Because the bricks are so massive, they send out a strong, invisible wave of energy. This heat travels right through your clothes. It travels through your skin. It goes deep into the meat of the muscle. It goes right into the joints. You can imagine the heat finding those sore spots. Think about your lower back, right where it aches from lifting the wood. The heat circles that spot. It brings fresh blood to the area. It encourages the tight muscle fibers to let go. You feel the tension melting away like butter in a hot pan. Think about your knees. They were cold and stiff from walking in the snow. Now the warmth is wrapping around them. It soothes the ache deep inside the bone. For centuries, this was the only doctor the peasants had. The nearest town with a real hospital is days away by horse. There are no pills here. There are no heat patches from a pharmacy. There is only the Pech. When someone gets sick, the first thing the grandmother says is, go to the stove. If you have a cold, you climb up here to sweat it out. The dry, hot air clears your chest. If you have a fever, the heat helps your body fight it. If you are an old man with aching arthritis in your hands, you press your palms against the hot clay and the pain goes away. It is a healing stone. You lie there and let the stone work on you. You do not have to do anything. You just have to surrender to gravity and warmth. It feels like a very slow, very heavy massage. The weight of your own body pressing against the hot bricks creates the pressure. The heat creates the release. You take a deep breath. Your ribs expand. You feel the heat entering your back as you inhale. It feels luxurious. It feels expensive. In a modern spa, people pay a lot of money for a hot stone massage. They have smooth black stones placed on their backs for 20 minutes. But you get to sleep on the hot stone all night long. You have the whole giant stone to yourself. The pain in your shoulders is fading. It is becoming just a distant memory. The stiffness in your legs is gone. Your body feels loose and heavy. It feels like it belongs to you again. This restoration is vital. Tomorrow, the sun will come up and the work will start again. The animals will need food. The snow will need shoveling. The water will need carrying. You need to be ready. You need to be strong. The stove ensures that you are. It repairs you while you dream. It takes your broken, tired body and knits it back together with warmth. You move your hand off the sheepskin for a moment. You touch the clay wall near your head. It is hot and dry. It feels like touching a living thing. It feels like the hand of a healer. You realize that this heat is clean. There is no fan blowing dust around. There is no noise. It is just pure, silent radiation. It is the same kind of heat the sun gives, but it is coming from the earth up into your bed. You feel a profound sense of relief. The pain is leaving you. It is flowing out of your toes and fingers, disappearing into the dark. You are being reset. You roll over onto your side. You curl your knees up slightly. The heat follows you. It wraps around your side. It warms your stomach. It makes you feel safe and whole. Now that your body is free of pain, your mind is free to wander. The physical world is taken care of. The boots are drying. The bread is rising. Your back is healing. There is nothing left to worry about. The silence of the room is waiting for something. It is waiting for the voice of the storyteller. In a house like this, before the heavy sleep finally takes everyone, there is usually a quiet moment for words. It is time to listen to the whispers in the dark. The room is almost completely dark now. The little flame in the oil lamp in the corner has been blown out, or perhaps it has just burned down to a tiny red spark. The shadows have swallowed the furniture. The windows are black squares. You are lying on your back on the sheepskins. Your body is heavy and warm. Your eyes are closed. You are ready to drift off. But the house is not quite ready to sleep yet. From the darkness nearby, a voice begins to speak. It is a quiet voice. It is a whisper. It is not talking to you specifically. It is just talking to the room. It is the voice of the grandmother, the babushka. She is lying next to you on the platform, or perhaps sitting on the edge of the stove with her legs dangling down. She is telling a story. You have to remember that in this time, in this old village, there are no televisions, there are no radios, there are no phones to scroll through. In fact, most of the people in this house cannot read. There are no books here, except maybe a heavy Bible kept in the red corner. So the stories do not live on paper. They live in people's heads. They live in the memory of the old people. The grandmother's voice is low and scratchy. It sounds like dry leaves rubbing together. It is a voice that has seen 70 winters. It is a tired voice, but it is strong. She starts with the special words that start every Russian fairy tale. She does not say once upon a time. She says, in a certain kingdom, in a certain state. It is a hypnotic opening. It tells you that you are leaving the real world of snow and hard work. You are entering a dream world. She speaks slowly. She does not rush. She knows the story by heart. She has told it 1,000 times. She told it to her children, and now she is telling it to her grandchildren. She tells a story about the firebird. It is a bird with feathers that shine like the sun. She describes how the bird flies through the dark forest, lighting up the trees. Lying there in the dark, you can almost see it. The words paint pictures in your mind. Because you cannot see anything with your eyes, your imagination becomes very bright. You see the golden feathers. You see the dark pine trees. She tells a story about the grey wolf, a wolf who talks and helps a prince ride across the snow. The story is not scary. It is familiar. It is like an old song. You know what is going to happen. The prince will be safe. The wolf will be kind. The bad king will be defeated. There is a great comfort in this repetition. You don't have to guess the ending. You don't have to worry. You just have to let the familiar words wash over you. The children on the stove are listening intently. You can hear their breathing change. They are holding their breath when the wolf jumps. They let it out when the prince escapes. Whoosh! This is the school of the village. This is how the children learn. They learn that being brave is good. They learn that being kind to animals is important. They learn that even in the darkest forest, there is always a way home. The grandmother's voice rises and falls. It has a rhythm. It is like a chant. It vibrates through the wooden planks of the ceiling. It vibrates in your chest. It feels incredibly intimate. In the modern world, we get our stories from screens. We watch strangers acting in movies. But here, the story is a gift from one person to another. It is a physical connection. The breath of the grandmother carries the story to your ear. After a while, the fairy tale ends. And they lived long and happy lives, she whispers. There is a silence, a long, heavy pause. Then a different voice speaks. It comes from down below, from the wooden bench near the door. It is the father. His voice is deeper. It is a rumble. It sounds like stones rolling under water. He is not telling a fairy tale. He is talking about the news. The snow is deep this year, he says quietly. It will be good for the wheat. Yes, whispers the mother from the darkness. The ground is well covered. They are talking about simple things. They are talking about the weather. They are talking about the neighbors. They are talking about the cow. Is she eating enough? Is the hay dry? This is the village newspaper. This is how they process the day. You lie there and listen to this low murmur of conversation. You don't really need to listen to the words. The meaning doesn't matter. It is the sound that matter. The sound of their voices means that everything is under control. The father is awake. The mother is awake. They are thinking about the farm. They're making plans. It makes you feel like a child again. It is that specific feeling of waking up in the back seat of a car while your parents are driving at night. You hear them talking in the front seat. You don't know what they are saying, but the tone of their voices tells you that you are safe. You can go back to sleep because they are in charge. That is how you feel on top of the stove. The grown-ups are down below. They are guarding the door. You can just be warm. The conversation is slow. There are long gaps between sentences. Ivan broke his axe handle today, the father says. Silence. The wind howls outside. Woo! He can carve a new one from the birch branch, the mother replies a minute later. Silence again. These pauses are restful. They show that the people are comfortable with each other. They don't need to fill every second with noise. They can just be together in the dark. The heat from the stove seems to carry the sound. Sound travels well in this dense, warm air. The whispers float up to the ceiling and hang there. You feel a sense of belonging. You are part of this small tribe. You are all huddled together against the vast, cold world. The stories and the gossip weave a net around the house. They bind everyone together. It is a shared history, a shared life. As you listen, your mind starts to detach from the words. The father's voice becomes just a low drone. The grandmother's voice becomes a soft rustle. Shh. The sounds are becoming abstract. They are turning into the soundtrack. They are turning into the soundtrack of sleep. You feel your body getting heavier. The sheepskin feels softer. The heat feels deeper. You try to focus on the story about the firebird again, but you can't quite remember where the bird went. Did it fly east? Did it fly west? It doesn't matter. The bird is safe. You are safe. The voices are getting quieter now. The sentences are getting shorter. Time to sleep, someone whispers. God be with us. Another voice answers. Then, the talking stops. The last word hangs in the air for a moment, and then it fades away. The human sounds are gone. Now, there is only the house. The cricket takes over again. Chirp, chirp. The fire pops. Click. The silence that follows the stories is different from the silence before. It is a satisfied silence. The words have been spoken. The news has been shared. The minds are empty now. You feel a wave of peace. You are ready for the deepest part of the night, the part where dreams come. And the dreams here are special. They are not frantic or stressful. They are influenced by the warmth and the smells. You are about to enter the deepest valley of sleep. The last whisper has faded away. The final good night has drifted up to the rafters and disappeared. The house has stopped talking. Now, you're in the deepest part of the night. This is the hour that the old people call the death time. It means the time when the world goes silent. The village is asleep. The dogs in the yard are asleep. Even the wind outside seems to have tired itself out. It is no longer howling. It is just a low, steady breath against the walls. You are lying perfectly still. You can feel the heaviness of the sleep pressing down on you. It feels like a warm, heavy hand resting on your chest. You open your eyes for a second. It is pitch black. In our modern world, we never really see true darkness. There is always a street lamp outside the window. There is always a little green light on a smoke detector, or the glowing numbers of a digital clock. There is always a little bit of light pollution. But here, deep in the Russian countryside, in the middle of winter, the darkness is absolute. It is thick. It is solid. You can hold your hand up in front of your face and you cannot see it. You cannot see the ceiling. You cannot see the wall. You cannot see the stove. For a moment, it feels like you are floating in nothingness. You have no body. You are just a warm point of consciousness floating in a black ocean. But it is not a scary darkness. It is a soft, velvet darkness. It feels fuzzy. It feels kind of like the wool you are lying on. It wraps around your eyes and tells them to rest. It tells your brain that there is absolutely nothing to look at, so you might as well stop trying. You close your eyes again. It makes no difference. The blackness inside your eyelids is the same as the blackness outside. This total lack of light triggers a deep chemical reaction in your brain. Your body produces melatonin, the sleep hormone, in a huge wave. It is a powerful, natural sedative. You listen to the room. The house has its own rhythm now. It is the rhythm of breathing. You can hear the different breaths of the sleeping family. Down below on the bench, the grandfather breathes with a deep, raspy sound. Ah, ah. It is a slow, heavy sound, like an old bellows pumping air. On the wooden shelf, the father breathes more quietly. It is a steady, strong rhythm. Near you, on the stove, you can hear the tiny, fast breaths of the children. They sound like little puffs of air. Puff, puff. These sounds are not annoying. They are comforting. They are the sounds of life. They tell you that everyone is safe. Everyone is here. The pack is together. You are all hibernating in the same cave. The heat from the stove has reached its peak. The bricks have been soaking up the heat for hours. Now they are fully saturated. The heat is no longer moving through the brick. It is just sitting there, radiating out in a massive invisible cloud. The air around you is thick with warmth. It is almost tropical. If you stuck your hand out of the covers, the air would feel hot against your skin. You feel a tiny bead of sweat form on your neck. It is not uncomfortable. It is a good sweat. It is the heat breaking a fever you didn't know you had. It is the heat cleaning your pores. You move one leg out from under the sheepskin. You let it rest on top of the covers. The warm air touches your leg. It feels perfect. You have found the perfect balance. One leg out, body covered. You feel completely disconnected from the world. There is no timeline here. There is no alarm set for 6 a.m. There is no train to catch. In the winter, the night is long. The sun sets at 4 in the afternoon and does not rise until 8 or 9 in the morning. That is 16 hours of darkness. There is no rush to sleep fast. You have hours and hours ahead of you. This knowledge makes you relax even more. You have permission to drift. You think about the concept of waiting out the winter. That is what you are doing. You are not fighting the winter. You are not trying to beat it. You are just waiting. You are letting the earth spin. You are letting the snow fall. You are letting the time pass. The stove is your time machine. It carries you through the dangerous hours. You feel a deep heaviness in your bones. It feels like your body is sinking into the bricks. The boundary between you and the stove is disappearing. You are becoming part of the clay. You are becoming part of the clay. You are becoming part of the heat. Your thoughts are moving very slowly now. They are like treacle. You try to think about the work you have to do tomorrow, but the thought slips away. It is too heavy to hold. You try to think about the forest, but the image is blurry. All that is left is the sensation of now, the sensation of warmth. You feel a vibration, a low, gentle rumble. It is the cat. You didn't notice the cat before, but now, in the silence, you can feel it. The family cat has climbed up onto the stove too. It has found a spot near your feet. It is curled up in a tight ball. It is purring. The purr vibrates through the sheepskin. It vibrates into your feet. It is a healing frequency. Scientists say that a cat's purr can lower blood pressure. Here, in the dark, it feels like a lullaby. The cat is the expert on comfort. If the cat is here, you know you are in the best spot. The cat would never sleep in a cold draft. The cat knows where the heat is. You wiggle your toes gently. You can feel the warm fur of the cat against your foot. It pushes back slightly. It is a friendly little pressure. You are surrounded by mammals. The humans, the cat, the sheepskins. It is a pile of warmth. The silence deepens. It feels like a house is holding its breath. This is the moment of total safety. The door is barred. The windows are frozen shut. The chimney is closed. You are in a sealed capsule. Nothing can get in. Nothing can get in. The outside world is just a rumor. The only reality is this warm black box. You feel your heart rate slowing down even more. Thump, thump. It is beating in time with the slow cooling of the stove. You are in a state of suspended animation. You are not quite asleep, but you are definitely not awake. You are floating in the space between. It is a lovely grey space. It is a space where there is no pain, no cold, no worry. You take a deep breath of the thick herbal air. You hold it for a second, then you let it out in a long, slow sigh. Ah. Ha. The sound of your own sigh seems loud in the quiet room. It signals that you are letting go of the last little bit of control. You are surrendering to the night. The darkness presses against your eyes, soft and kind. The heat presses against your back, strong and steady. You are drifting. You are sinking. You are gone. Time moves differently in the dark. Hours have passed since you closed your eyes. The night has rolled forward like a slow, heavy wheel. If you looked at a clock, it might be 3 or 4 in the morning. This is the time when the world is at its coldest. Outside, the temperature has dropped even lower. The air is frozen still. The trees are snapping in the frost. The moon is high and cold, looking down on the snow. But inside the house, the climate is still gentle. You wake up just a little bit. You are not fully awake. You are in that soft, fuzzy place between dreams and reality. You turn over on the sheepskins. You move your arm to find a cool spot on the pillow. You notice a change. Earlier, when you first climbed up, the heat was intense. It was pushing against you. It was almost too hot. You had to kick your leg out to cool down. The air felt thick and heavy, like a sauna. Now, the heat has changed. It has mellowed. The fire deep inside the stove went out a long time ago. If you could see inside the tunnel now, you would not see any red glow. You would not see any flames. You would only see a pile of soft grey ash. It is cold dust. The engine of the fire has stopped running, but the stove does not stop. This is the miracle of the masonry heater. It is designed to work best when the fire is dead. Think about a metal kettle. When you take it off the boil, it gets cold in 10 minutes. The metal is thin. It cannot hold on to the heat. It lets it go too fast. But the Russian stove is a mountain. It weighs tons. It is thousands of bricks thick. It is stubborn. It does not want to change. It took a long time to get hot, and now it takes a very long time to get cool. It is coasting. Imagine a heavy train rolling down the track. Even if you turn off the engine, the train keeps moving for miles because it is so heavy. The stove is like that train. It is rolling through the night on its own momentum. The heat you feel now is the stored heat. It is the memory of the fire. The surface of the clay under your hand is no longer hot to the touch. It is warm. It matches your body temperature perfectly. It feels like touching another person's hand. It is a biological warmth. This creates the most perfect sleeping environment. In the early evening, it was a bit too hot. In the morning, it will be a bit cool. But right now, in the middle of the night, it is exactly right. It is the Goldilocks zone. You pull the quilt up over your shoulder. The air in the room has cooled down a few degrees. The heavy, stifling feeling is gone. The air feels fresher now. It is easier to breathe. You lie there and feel the stillness of the temperature.
In a modern house with a thermostat, the heater turns on and off. Click, whoosh, the fan blows hot air, then it stops. The room gets cold, then click, it starts again. The temperature goes up and down like a saw blade. Your body has to keep adjusting. But here, there is no on and off. There is only a slow, smooth slide.
The temperature is dropping so slowly that your body cannot even feel it happening. It drops maybe 1 degree every 2 hours. It is a gentle slope. Your body loves this. It does not have to work to stay warm. It does not have to shiver. It can just rest. You think about the battle happening at the walls. Outside, the cold is trying to get in. It is pressing against the logs. It's pressing against the windows. It wants to freeze the water in the bucket. It wants to freeze the people in the bed. But the stove is pushing back. It is radiating a constant wave of energy. It is holding the line. It is a silent war. There is no noise. There is just the invisible pressure of the heat keeping the frost away. And the stove is winning. It has enough power stored in its bricks to last until breakfast. You feel a deep sense of trust in this object. It is faithful. It does not need electricity. It does not need repairs. It just sits there, big and white and heavy, doing its job. You snuggle down. The sheepskin feels even softer now that the intense heat has faded. You feel like you are in a cocoon. You can hear the house settling again. Kroyak. That is the sound of the wood cooling down a tiny bit. The house breathes in and out with the temperature. It shrinks a little in the cold night. It expands a little in the warm day. It is a living thing, moving with the heat. You drift back towards sleep. The dreams you have now are different. When the stove was roaring hot, your dreams were vivid, and maybe a bit wild. The heat made your brain active. But now, in the cooling phase, your dreams are slow and peaceful. You dream of walking in tall grass. You dream of floating on a quiet river. The cooling stove slows down your heart. It slows down your thoughts. You realize that you are part of the cooling process. You are losing heat too, but the sheepskin catches your heat and keeps it close. You and the stove are working together. It is a very intimate feeling. You are lying on top of the heart of the house. You can feel its pulse getting slower and slower. You wonder about the people who built this. Did they know how perfect this moment would be? Did they know that at 4 a.m. the bricks would reach this exact temperature? Yes, they did. They learned it over hundreds of years. They learned that if you make the wall 2 bricks thick, it gets cold too fast. If you make it 4 bricks thick, it never gets hot enough. 3 bricks is the magic number. It is the perfect balance for the long Russian night. You are sleeping on a masterpiece of engineering, but it doesn't look like a machine, it just looks like a warm white rock. You turn your pillow over to the cool side. It feels crisp against your cheek. The contrast between the cool air on your face and the warm bricks under your back is wonderful. You take a deep breath. The air smells less of herbs now and more of clean dust. It is a quiet smell. The cricket has stopped chirping. Even he has fallen asleep in the gentle warmth. The house is completely silent. You feel heavy. You feel anchored. The stove is holding you down to the earth. You could not get up if you wanted to. The sleep is too deep. The warmth is too comfortable. You let go of the last thread of consciousness. You slide down the gentle slope of the cooling night. You are safe. The giant is guarding you. The heat will last. You sink back into the velvet dark. You are miles away from the snow. Your body is lying on the warm bricks, but your mind has traveled far away. The deep, steady heat of the stove has tricked your brain. It feels so much like the sun that your dreams have turned into memories of July. In your sleep, the wooden walls of the house dissolve. The dark ceiling opens up. The heavy winter grey disappears. Suddenly, everything is green. You are dreaming of the fields. In the dream, you are lying on your back, just like you are now. But you are not lying on sheepskins. You are lying on a haystack. The dry, golden grass is prickly and sweet-smelling. It is piled high in the middle of a meadow. The sky above you is a shocking blue. It is bright and endless. There is not a single cloud. The sun is a ball of yellow fire, hanging right in the middle of the sky. It is beating down on you. It warms your face. It warms your chest. It warms your bare arms. You can feel the sweat on your forehead. But in the dream, it is a happy sweat. It is the sweat of a good day's work. You can hear the sounds of summer. Gone is the howling wind. Gone is the scratching of the ice. Instead, you hear the heavy, lazy buzzing of a bumblebee. Buzz, buzz, buzz. It flies past your ear looking for a flower. You hear the song of a lark high up in the air. It is singing because the world is warm and full of food. You hear the sound of the wind, but it is a soft wind. It is whispering through the birch trees. The leaves are fluttering like 1,000 tiny green flags. Rustle, rustle. In the dream, you can smell the earth. It is rich and dark. It smells of growth. You remember the smell of the wild strawberries. They grow in the secret places at the edge of the forest. They are tiny, much smaller than the ones in a shop, but they are full of flavor. You can taste the burst of red sweetness on your tongue. Your fingers are stained pink from picking them. This dream is not just a fantasy, it is a memory. For the Russian peasant, the year is divided into 2 halves. There is the dark time, and there is the light time. The winter is for sleeping, for telling stories, and for surviving on the stove. But the summer is for the land. In your dream, you remember the harvest. You see the golden wheat standing tall in the fields. You see the men swinging the scythes. Swish, Swish. The metal blade cuts through the dry stalks. It is a rhythmic sound, like a pendulum. You remember the women tying the sheaves of wheat. Their scarves are bright red and blue against the yellow grain. Everyone is working together. The sun is hot, but the work feels good. It is the work that makes the bread. The heat from the stove under your back connects you to this memory. The clay of the stove came from this same earth. The bricks were baked in a fire, just like the ground is baked by the sun. The stove is a piece of the summer trapped in stone. Lying there in the dark, breathing in the smell of the dried mint hanging from the rafters, your dream becomes very real. The mint was picked on the day just like this dream. It holds the sunlight in its dried leaves. When the warm air hits it, it releases that sunshine back into the room. You feel a sense of perfect balance. Outside the house, the snow is piling up. It is covering the fences. It is burying the road. But inside your head, the flowers are blooming. The butterflies are dancing. This is how you survive the long winter. You keep the summer inside you. You store it up in your mind, just like you store the grain in the barn and the heat in the stove. The dream shifts a little. Now you are swimming. You are floating in the river. The water is cool and dark. It washes away the dust of the fields. You look up at the willows hanging over the water. You feel weightless. Your real body, heavy on the stove, relaxes even more. The tension in your muscles flows away like water down the river. You are completely safe. You know that the winter will end. It always ends. The sun always comes back. The snow will melt and turn into water for the crops. The green grass will push up through the mud. But for now, you do not have to work. You do not have to harvest. The fields are sleeping under the snow, and you are sleeping on the stove. You have earned this rest. The dream is a gift. It is a postcard from the sun. You turn your head on the pillow. The dream fades a little, but the feeling stays. The feeling of warmth and light. You are floating in a golden haze. The stove is your sun. The sheepskin is your grass. The house is your world. You sleep deeply, fueled by the memory of the light. You are recharging your soul for the morning. And soon the morning will come, not the bright morning of summer, but the grey, quiet morning of winter. The world is about to wake up. You are floating in the dark. But slowly, gently, the darkness begins to change. It is not turning into bright sunshine. It is turning into a soft, milky grey. You open your eyes. For a moment, you do not know where you are. You are just warm. You are just comfortable. Then you see the wooden beams of the ceiling above you. You see the rough texture of the timber. You remember, you are on the stove. It is morning, but it is not a loud morning. There is no alarm clock buzzing. There is no traffic noise. The only signal that the day has started is the light. You roll over and look towards the window. The window is not clear. You cannot see the trees or the snow outside. The glass is covered in a thick, beautiful layer of frost. During the night while you slept, the cold pressed against the glass. The moisture in the room froze into patterns. You look closely at the light coming through the ice. It is a dim, blue-grey light. It looks like the light inside a cloud. The patterns in the glass are amazing. They look like white ferns. They look like feathers from a giant bird. They look like a frozen forest. The light catches the edges of the ice crystals and makes them sparkle just a little bit. It is a natural curtain. It hides the world, but it lets the light in. You take a deep breath. The air in the room has changed again. Last night it was hot and heavy with the smell of herbs. Now the air is crisp. It is cooler. It feels fresh in your lungs. It wakes you up. You feel the tip of your nose. It is cold. Your cheeks feel cool. But the rest of your body, buried under the sheepskin and the quilt, is still toasty warm. This is the best feeling. It is the joy of being warm in a cold place. You pull the quilt up to your nose. You want to stay here. You want to trap the last bit of sleep. You listen to the house. The wind has stopped. The blizzard that howled all night has blown itself out. The silence outside is huge. It is a heavy, thick silence. You know that outside the snow is deep and soft. It muffles every sound. The world is wrapped in cotton wool. Inside, you hear the first stirrings of life. Creak. Down below, someone is moving. It is the grandmother. She is always the first one up. She moves slowly. You hear the soft shuffle of her felt slippers on the wooden floor. She is trying to be quiet so she doesn't wake the children. You hear the clink of metal. She is moving the kettle. You lie there and watch the grey light get a little bit brighter. The blue tint is fading, turning into the colour of a pearl. This tells you the sun is trying to rise. It is low on the horizon, hidden behind the grey winter clouds, but it is there. You feel a sense of victory. You made it. You survived the night. The temperature outside might be -30 or -40 degrees. The night was dangerous, but you slept through it without even shivering. The stove did its job. It carried you through the darkness like a warm boat. You reach out and touch the clay bricks next to you. They are no longer hot. They are just tepid. They are lukewarm. They have given up almost all their energy. They feel tired. They have worked hard all night, pushing heat into your back, pushing heat into the room. Now they are empty. They need to be fed again. This signals the end of the shift. The battery is drained. It is time to recharge. You feel a little bit of reluctance. The bed is so soft. The hollow you have made in the sheepskin fits your body perfectly. It is hard to leave this nest. But then you smell something. It is a new smell. It cuts through the smell of the old smoke and the dried herbs. It is the smell of fresh tea. And underneath that, the smell of the bread. The loaf that was baking in the falling heat all night is done. You can smell the dark, toasted crust. It smells nutty and rich. Your stomach gives a little grumble. The sleepiness begins to lift. You sit up slowly. You have to be careful not to hit your head on the ceiling beams. You're still in the shadow of the roof. You look down from your high tower. The room below is bathed in the same soft grey light. It looks peaceful. The table is clean. The cat is stretching near the bench, arching its back. The grandfather is sitting up, rubbing his face with his rough hands. It is a slow morning. In the summer, everyone rushes out to the fields, but in the winter, there is no rush. The snow is too deep to work the land. The cows are safe in the barn. There is nowhere to go. So you can take your time. You rub your eyes. You stretch your arms over your head. You feel your back crack gently. The stiffness is gone. The heat from the stone has fixed you. You feel loose and rested. You look at your breath. You can see a very faint wisp of white mist when you exhale. The room is cool. The stove has kept the freezing death away, but it has not kept the morning chill out entirely. It is time to make the fire again. You look at the edge of the platform. The slide down is waiting. You gather your courage. You know that the moment you leave the sheepskins, the cool air will grab you, but you also know that down below there is something waiting for you that will make it okay. You remember your boots. You remember the paturki. You smile. You are ready. You throw off the heavy quilt. The cool air hits your skin. It is a shock, but it makes you feel alive. You scoot to the edge of the bricks. You swing your legs over the side. The morning watch has begun. The night is over. The light has won. It is time to start the cycle again. You slide your legs over the edge of the sleeping platform. You hold onto the wooden beam of the ceiling for a moment to steady yourself. Then you lower yourself down. It is a short drop. Your feet find the sturdy wooden bench below. Thud. You stand on the bench for a second, adjusting to the altitude. You have come down from the mountains. You are back on the plains. You step down onto the floorboards. The floor is cool. It is not freezing, but it is definitely cooler than the air up near the roof. Your socks are wool, but you can feel the chill of the wood seeping through. You wiggle your toes. You need your armor. You turn to the stove. You look for the little cave the Pechurka, where you left your boots last night. There they are, two grey shapes resting in the shadows of the white wall. You reach in, your hand brushes against the clay. It is barely warm now, but inside the niche the air is still cozy. You grab the top of the first boot. You pull it out. It feels wonderful. It is not just dry, it is hot. The heat has soaked all the way through the thick felt. It feels like a loaf of bread, fresh from the oven. You sit down on the bench. You pull the boot on. You slide your foot deep inside. Ah, the warmth hugs your foot instantly. It wraps around your heel. It wraps around your ankle. It travels up your calf. It is a shock of pleasure. The stiffness in your toes disappears. You stomp your heel down to settle it. Thump. You put on the other boot. Now you are protected. You can walk anywhere in the house. You could even walk out into the snow and your feet would stay warm for a long time. These boots are your battery packs. You stand up, you feel strong, you feel ready. The room is waking up around you. The cat has jumped down from the stove. It is rubbing against your legs, purring loudly, asking for milk. The grandmother is cutting the black bread at the table. The sound of the knife on the crust crunch, crunch, is the sound of the breakfast. But there is one more job to do. The giant is hungry. The stove has given you everything it had. It gave you a warm bed. It dried your clothes. It cooked your food. It kept the frost away. But now it is empty. The bricks are cooling down. If you do not feed it, the cold will eventually win. You walk over to the pile of birch logs by the wall. You pick them up. They are cool and smooth. You carry them to the mouth of the stove. You look inside the dark tunnel. The ash is grey and dead. The magic coals from last night are gone. But that is okay. It is a new day. You reach up and grab the iron handle of the damper, the heavy metal gate that trapped the heat all night. You pull it open. Grind. You hear the rush of air immediately. The draft is back. The chimney is open. The house takes a deep breath. You stack the wood inside. You build the little tower again. 2 logs this way, 2 logs that way. You crumble the birch bark. You strike the match. Fleur. The yellow flame catches the paper-thin bark. It curls and blackened. Then the wood catches. The sound returns. The low rumble. The roar. The fire is alive again. You stand back and watch the flames dance. The orange light splashes against the white clay. The stove looks happy. It is waking up. It is eating the fire, getting ready to store the heat for another 24 hours. You feel a sense of completion. The cycle is a circle. You heat the stove heats you. You work the day, you rest the night. Outside, the sun has finally broken through the grey clouds.
A beam of pale yellow light hits the frosted window. It makes the ice crystals shine like diamonds. The world is bright and cold and beautiful. You are warm. You are fed. You are rested. You look at the white stove one last time. It stands there solid and silent in the center of the room. It is the heart of the home. It is the reason you are here. You place your hand on the wall. It is already starting to get warm again near the firebox. The life is returning to the stone. Thank you, you whisper. You turn away from the fire. You walk towards the door. You are ready to step out into the winter, knowing that no matter how cold it gets, the giant will be waiting for you when you return. The night shift is over. The storm has passed. The wind has stopped howling at the roof.
The snow has stopped falling. The world outside is still and white and peaceful. You have made it through the long dark hours. You have journeyed to a place where time moves slowly, where warmth is the only thing that matters. You have slept on the healing stone. You have listened to the cricket. You have been guarded by the spirit of the house. Your body is heavy and relaxed. The tension you carried in your shoulders is gone. The worry you carried in your mind has melted away. You are safe in your own bed now. The warmth you felt in the story is still with you. It is wrapped around you like the softest sheepskin. You do not need to do anything else. You do not need to climb any mountains. You do not need to chop any wood. Your only job now is to close your eyes and let the feeling of the warm clay carry you into your own dreams. The fire is burning. The house is secure. The family is safe. Everything is exactly as it should be. The sun is rising. The gates are opening. The watch has ended.